a playlist original.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Back to the Blockbuster with your hosts, Gaius and Jackson. How's it going? Happy Super Bowl recovery Monday.
Yes, it's going. And I'm like I was just saying, I'm pretty tired today because over here on the East Coast, game wraps up a little later than it does for you out in California. So was feeling it today, but you know what? It was a good Monday. How was your experience watching the Super Bowl?
It was good. I think we were all, well, one, I was happy that we actually watched it at a friend's house. We didn't go to a bar. We went to a bar last year for the really big one that was in LA, and it was like a big deal that, like, Dr. Dre and Snoop Dogg and all them were the halftime show because they're
Yeah,
like
that was
LA
sick.
LA based artists and stuff. So, but we had to like stand for most of that game because there was like no
Oh,
seats really at the bar, and like it was fine. Like I'm used to it,
that's
kind
not
of,
it.
but like several hours of like standing there, it's not all that fun. And then it's also harder to take in like the commercials and stuff when you're at a bar because there's so much like noise and so much going on.
That's a great
Uh,
point. That's a
so
great
like
point. Yeah.
so yeah, that was good. And like so like our friend Brittany has a projector, so we just watched it at her house and everyone made stuff and it was perfect. It was a nice gathering of friends. It was good that the game was like close. It wasn't like a blowout, so the game was actually
Right.
fun.
Entertaining
Uh
football game. As like
yeah,
I'm not much of a football guy, but like I'll tune in for the Super Bowl at least usually every year. And yeah, I was quite entertained.
yeah.
Did you have was either of those was Philadelphia or Kansas City like your team, or are you just like watching it for the sake of watching
No,
it?
I was just watching for the sake of watching it as
Yeah.
our friend Evan, he's an Eagles fan, and then the girl hosting it, a Chiefs fan. So like he was
Okay. Oh,
like
that's fun.
there was like a little push and pull like the whole time the game was going on because like it kept going back and forth of like might be you guys like, oh no, I think it's gonna be you guys, like nope,
Uh,
back to you guys.
yeah.
But that was kind of fun. But like we were making, there was like been this running joke all weekend, and I just like doing it because it playfully gets under my buddy Evan's skin. Or he was like, "You don't even care about the game." I was like, "Yeah, I know. I told you, I am just here for the Rihanna concert. We're just here for that
Yeah.
13-minute Rihanna concert."
Yeah, dude, what a show that was, honestly. Like
Yeah,
good for like she blew me out of the water, dude. Thought it was a fantastic.
yeah, good for her. I was like, so I was looking while we were watching it. I think like everyone that ended up going on Twitter while during her performance, like while we are watching it at the house, there were some girls that were like trying to be positive because she just had a baby 9 months ago, and they
Right.
were just like, "I think she looks pregnant," or could that just be like
Yeah.
she hasn't lost like pregnancy weight? So they're trying to be polite, and then I go on Twitter, and Twitter that already in the middle of
That's
performance is trending like
all anyone
Rihanna.
was saying. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
And then it got so loud that her rep had to like confirm it. So like so she is
Yeah.
pregnant again, 9 months after having a baby. And I think it's kind of cool. Like I know this is not a music podcast, whatever, but like she hasn't performed live in 6 years, I think. And she
Whoa,
hasn't
what?
released
Oh, I didn't
yeah,
know that.
she
Oh,
hasn't
that's
released
crazy.
an album in like that long too. She doesn't need to. I mean, she's a billionaire based on her other like
It's,
business
exactly.
endeavors. But one I thought was cool that she actually did pretty well during the show. Doing that while pregnant, finding out that later, I thought that was even more impressive because
And
I mean,
very much so.
I'm definitely afraid of heights, and there's no way you could have got me on any of those elevated stages that she was on,
Right.
like whatsoever. Like, but like, I mean, but she's having a moment now too. It's cool. Like, she hasn't done a lot of music. She's Oscar nominated for her song from Wakanda Forever. Like
Right.
so she's having a really good time to be her. I mean, I guess it's always going to be Rihanna, but like, especially
Exactly.
right now,
She
especially
is
right now.
she is an icon by like all definitions of the word as far as I'm
Yeah,
concerned. Like we'll go down in history. It probably like already belongs. Like she's a Hall of Famer, you know what I mean? Like just like
yeah,
an
yeah,
awesome person, awesome performer, great artist, and man,
yeah,
friggin' gorgeous. Like still, I don't know how
yeah.
old she is, like mid 30s probably.
34.
Like
We all looked it up
beautiful,
yesterday.
beautiful
We were
woman.
like,
Yeah,
we
she was
went down like
young when she got her start.
yeah, we went down a Rihanna rabbit hole during like right before the
Yeah,
halftime show because we were like, what song do you think she's gonna open with? And then we were like, we all got it wrong. Like we were like, oh, we all got it
yeah,
wrong. But we did kind of guess what songs would be there. And then we were kind of surprised that certain songs were there. Like,
yeah.
I thought, for all the people watching in the Midwest who get easily offended, didn't know she would play Bitch Better Have My Money, but then she did. So like
Yeah.
she opened with it. So I was like,
I didn't
just
even. Yeah,
so there's
I
probably
didn't
some
even bother guessing what she'd open with.
yeah, there's probably some angry
Um,
moms in like the Midwest, like on their like computers, like right after that. Just like
right.
our kids were watching this. But yeah, overall it was just like
That's
a
your
really
fault.
good, yeah, exactly. Good game, good show, good performance by her. I know we're gonna talk like all the movie trailers and stuff a little later. I wasn't totally impressed with like all the commercials. Like some of them just kind of like fell flat.
Underwhelming, man.
Yeah,
Honestly, yeah, I agree.
and we were just all I could think was like we kept saying it like you paid $7 million for like a 30-second ad, so it should be perfect. It shouldn't be like, well, that sucked, or I should actually know what you're trying to sell too. On top of that, like some of them, I was like, I mean,
Good
I will
point.
say this: the one commercial, I mean, there were a couple, but like the one that really worked because it actually caused total disruption and at the party was the Tubi commercial that actually made it look like you actually were like someone turned on Tubi and like was picking a movie to watch on Tubi. It didn't really cut like
Oh,
a real commercial, so everyone at the party was like, "Brittany, what are you doing? What's wrong with the TV? Why'd you change it?" And she's like, "I didn't touch it." So that commercial did its job, I think.
definitely.
But yeah, they were just like, overall, I just a lot of them didn't really like stick with me, I guess. And like actually, it's been like
Right.
that last few years. They haven't been like that great. But you were
Yeah,
paying that
definitely
much money.
some slack to be picked up on the advertising end there, it seems. Now, I don't know, like this could be completely wrong, but I we streamed it. I was wondering if like if you stream on a different channel or something, if that affected like the commercials you got, or is that just not the case? Because I didn't notice. I saw like the TV spot for Dial of Destiny, and I think
Yeah.
maybe one other like 30-second Quantum Mania 30-second trailer. That's the only movie content I saw the entire stream.
Oh,
I
really?
watched
Oh.
from near beginning to the end, and I was like, why am I not getting movie trailers? So I didn't see the
Where did
I
you
had to look them up today.
what did you stream it on?
I wouldn't remember the name. It was a stream that I did not recognize, and it was
Okay.
already set up by the time I had come out. So I honestly don't even know. But
Okay.
we got like other trailers. Like I saw all the Pepsi trailers, saw the FanDuel one or whatever with Gronk and his kick and all that. So I was like, this is
Right.
like Super Bowl trailers, but I don't know why I'm not getting movie stuff. It was weird. I kept
It
questioning it,
could,
but
it could be
anyway.
what you streaming on. I mean, that would make sense. We were watching it on YouTube TV, and
Okay.
I think we got all of them. Someone did make a comment like, I wonder if like depending on what you're watching it on, because it is airing on Fox, but you're depending on where you're at and where you're streaming it, are you maybe getting different content
I
like for
think
some of the
that might have been
commercials?
the case. Yeah. Oh
But
well.
yeah,
I watched all the trailers today. So
yeah. I mean, also, I get it. It's like the biggest event of the year, and it makes sense to spend, I guess, $7 million on a 30-second spot.
yeah.
My thing was some of these trailers dropped a few days before the Super Bowl. Some of them
Right.
dropped like an hour or so before the game. So I guess it doesn't make sense because people are. I mean, like, people are still watching it, but like if you pay that much money, I would think you want to debut it like exclusively first during the game and not like a few days
Absolutely.
before. I mean, like the Scream TV spot came out a few days before. The Flash trailer, it came out online like maybe 30, 45 minutes before it hit the actual commercial hit TV.
Yeah, I
So,
was seeing shots posted
yeah,
before the
same thing with
trailer
like
came out. Damn.
Guardians of the Galaxy. That trailer came out early. Yeah, I just don't get the thought
Has that
process. Like
happened before? Like I don't that's new to me.
they've been starting to do. I noticed it last year too, where like they were releasing the spots like a couple of days before. Um, I mean, I guess like maybe there's a difference between building like internet hype and then like hype like watching it live. But like
Yeah.
I don't know, it
I'm
seems
sure
less
there's some
special when
logic to it. Like
yeah
that's their thing. That's what they do. They know how to, release stuff. So I'm thinking that if they did that, it's for a good reason. Maybe we're not aware of. But
yeah
yeah, I did find
yeah.
it odd. Yeah,
Yeah, I guess we don't work for Warner Brothers or Marvel or Disney or,
that's right. They're
or
doing something
Paramount.
right.
They're doing something right. Well, before we get into the trailers and stuff, what did you kind of get into this weekend? Did you watch anything? Oh, I know you watched The Fablemans. You told me that
Yes.
offline. So yeah,
And
anything else that you might want to bring up?
only only two watches. So like we'll keep it short. But like after we recorded last week, I went and saw Knock at the Cabin, which I don't think we had the chance to really chat
To
about
talk
on
about, yeah,
stream.
yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah, yeah.
now you can talk about it.
Yeah, absolutely. I felt the exact same way that you did. I would say, like,
Yeah. Okay.
I put it right, like a good six. There was like some things missing. As an M Night fan, like, yeah, it was nice to see him see a movie of his on the theater. So I
Yeah.
had fun enough watching it, but yeah, it didn't like necessarily hit it out of the park for me. There was some, like you said, some dialogue and some script issues that I
Issues. Yeah.
found a little strange. Like one thing I don't understand about some directors, I don't know where in the production process this comes from, but like that movie had like numerous f-bombs and like didn't shy away from like swearing and stuff, shy away from some gore, which I thought was annoying. But there's like
Yeah.
a line where, like, I don't know if it's Jonathan Groff or the other actor, Ben Aldridge, is it?
Aldrich. Yeah, yeah.
One of them says like calls Dave Bautista's character like a piece of crap, and it just comes across as so
I do
juvenile.
remember that.
It's like,
I do
but then you're
remember
gonna
that. Yeah.
it was cringy. I was like, man, like, why are you gonna like drop F-bombs in your movie, but then say something like that? Like the
Yeah.
inconsistency, and there's a couple other moments like that, but that was the big standout one, which is like nitpicking, definitely, but it goes a long
It
way.
takes you out of it though. There was
It
like moments
does.
like that I took. My issues with it were all screenplay issues with it, and
Yep.
some of it took me out of it. Like I said, I think I mentioned it last week, or if I didn't, forgive me. Directing wise, I thought like technically it was really well done. I thought that like even some of his best work, I thought like there was stuff he was doing with the camera that I thought was like really unique and great. There was
Yep.
moments of like really solid tension. I thought the acting was pretty good, particularly from Dave Bautista and Ben Aldridge, who I didn't know a lot of his stuff.
Yeah,
I
relative
just
unknown.
yeah, he was really good. Seen Jonathan Groff and other things before, so I already knew that he would be pretty good in it. But like, yeah, I just wish like when someone writes and directs their own stuff, and I'm sure he's heavily involved in like editing and all that too. Like,
Exactly.
I think sometimes people like I felt this way when he started making. Okay, for me, his stinkers started with The Village. I know some people like The Village. It's like
Oh, okay. Interesting.
so starting with The Village, Lay in the Water, The Happening. I used to think in my head like, dude, you need someone to like reel you in or like read over your stuff or I don't know, check your edit. I don't know,
Right.
like I get it. It's your name. You're like a lot of people have compared not necessarily the quality, but the way he probably approaches his work. He gets compared a lot to Hitchcock in the way he's like heavily involved in everything and like
Right.
yeah, that's great. I know it's your product, it's your baby, but like I think sometimes you need someone like you need another voice to be like, hey, like maybe this isn't working. Maybe we should
That
like kind of tweak
is a
this and change this.
great point. Great point.
And,
It's yeah, having someone else peer review your work is never a bad idea. That's like what academic communities are like,
yeah,
that's something they hold very dear to work, and it should be the same thing, honestly, in art, I think anyway. In some cases, maybe that shouldn't be the case, but I think, yeah, another set of
yeah,
eyes going over your work would go a long way, especially in the case of a filmmaker like M. Night Shyamalan, who, like you said, is really hands-on in a lot of roles for himself. So yeah, left me wanting a little bit more out of it. Can't really see myself going back to it anytime soon.
either.
But overall, like just glad to see him working and self-financing his movies and getting it out to a large audience. Like never bad to see that. So what,
Yeah.
and it wasn't completely terrible. Don't get me wrong. There was things to like about it. Also thought the actress that played their daughter, the young
Oh yeah,
the young girl, she did
yeah,
great in her debut performance. Like held
yeah,
her own
really good.
amongst some bigger actors. So good for her too. Like to see where her career goes. And Dave
Yeah,
Bautista again was awesome. Best part of that movie.
I was I didn't mention her last week, but yeah, she was really actually really good because like usually sometimes with kid actors and especially when it's their first thing, it can be like, oh, that's kind of cringy. You're not good. You're cute, but you're not good.
Right.
But she was actually really solid. I thought she held her own pretty well against more veteran
Yeah.
performers in that. I also felt the ending. I mean, I don't know what I expected from the ending. It just felt like it just happened and fell flat. I don't know. Like it just like
Absolutely it did.
maybe it's our fault too, because like with a movie, when he makes a movie, we're all like waiting for like that last like 5 minutes or so. Like, what's he gonna do? How's he gonna shock us? And then when there's nothing, you're
Right.
like, oh, well, it just ended. All right, well, I mean, I guess I can't see. I guess that's how it would end. I mean, I'm not like particularly upset with like how it ended. It was just kind of like the road to getting there was really like uh, not quite what I guess wanted it to be. It just kind of like didn't land with like a bang. It was kind of just like a thud, a
Deflated
little bit.
instead of like
Yeah,
landing with a bang. It was
yeah,
like letting
yeah,
the air out of the balloon instead of popping it, which you expect from an M. Night
yeah,
written movie. Because, like you said, yeah, he's master of the twist and the suspense and turning the plot into a 180. And he didn't
yeah.
really bring that out with Knock at the Cabin. But
No,
oh
he
well,
did
maybe
not.
a second viewing down the road might change your opinion. I
Yeah,
don't know.
and, you
Not
know,
really that excited to see it, but
yeah, it'll be a while before I revisit it. I think.
yeah, exactly. But on the opposite side of things, last night, or yesterday rather, got in Steven Spielberg's The Fableman, so I was able to cross off another Best Picture nominated flick for this
Nice.
Oscars. So I'm now at 7 out of 10, which I meant to ask you too, like how many you have left to see of the Best Picture nominees, if any.
I think I have one more.
Have you
I
seen
think
Women
one more.
Talking? That's on my list. So
That's the one.
that's the line. Yeah,
I'm trying to. I'm close to getting it. So
yeah. Plenty of time still. You got a
hopefully
month,
before the Oscars. Yeah, yeah.
definitely.
I feel bad I haven't seen it because so many people have been praising it, and like we've talked about it on the show too, like not getting the kind of attention that people think it deserves. But I'm at least it's getting
Right.
it for the Oscars. So
Oh, exactly. It's great that it's recognized and getting the attention. I do
yeah,
feel like though it's among the ones that stands like the least chance of winning Best Picture. So like if you don't see
Yeah.
it, I don't think it's gonna really change. And it'd be nice to go to get them all. I've never had
Yeah.
not that I know of anyway. I don't think I've seen all the Best Picture nominees like before the Oscars. So this probably will be my first year. I just got to get
Oh, nice.
Women Talking, Avatar, and Elvis in, and then I can actually have an actual opinion on what I want to win. But so far,
All right.
changed. I liked Fablemans a lot.
Yeah.
It's not Best Picture in my mind,
Yeah.
but I even like I do remember feeling like I've seen better directed movies from 2022, and I'm really happy Steve won the Golden Globe. But and in no way do I think he does a bad job. Like I couldn't find anything to take away from him, like directing wise,
Yeah.
screenwriting wise. There's a couple things, but he did do a fantastic job directing it. But no, I wouldn't say my favorite directed movie of 2022. I
Yeah.
don't think Tar was slightly above that too. Tar was directed phenomenally.
I would give Tar the edge over that too. You know, I think it is. I mentioned it when we did the nominations. I think a lot of it is nostalgia for Steven Spielberg, and then it's also
Big time.
and it's also a movie about filmmaking. I think people kind of get caught up in that a little bit, you know, and like
Right.
not to say that it's not poorly directed at all. I mean, you could tell it's
not at all.
You can tell it's a passion project for sure.
Yeah,
but yeah, I agree with you. I think there were better directed movies that came out in 2022. But you know, can't bet against Spielberg, I guess. So
no. And I don't mean to lead with that because I did really enjoy it. Actually, like my buddy Cam and I watched, I think I was like slightly enjoyed it a little bit more than him, although he had great things to say about it as well. Where was I going with that? Great performances all around too. Although Michelle Williams admittedly didn't really sell me on her performance. Like she did it great. Not like that. Was it the Globes that she did get the nomination for?
She didn't get. I think it was a SAG. And
That's right. I asked you
and then she ended up getting an Oscar nomination, and there was like a big debate because she campaigned for lead actress. And if you watch that movie, I mean, it's more of like a supporting turn than like a lead actress performance. But she still made it in. I mean, there was a lot of debate on whether or not she should have gone supporting rather than lead. But I mean, it ended up working out for her in the long run.
Yeah,
but I wasn't completely sold. Like, and this is fun when I actually loves her work because I think she's a really great actress, and
so do I. Don't get me wrong.
Her past Oscar nominations have been much deserved. I wasn't totally sold on it either. I thought she was good. I just didn't see what maybe the Academy sees. Like
exactly, and I could be a little biased because like for leading actress nominations, I'm fresh off of Tar, so seeing like she didn't hold a flame to Cate Blanchett at all, in my opinion. Hard act to follow, definitely, but not her performance is good. I thought that scene of her dancing in the moonlight, like the campfire, honestly a little off-putting for me. That just did something. I was like, I don't know what I'm watching, but I'm kind of weirded out by it. But
well, no, we were like, it's so funny. We talked about things that could take you out of movies. That is kind of one of the moments that were like, oh.
I was like,
okay, I feel like you could have cut this, but maybe it was like a personal thing. Maybe it's like something that
exactly
from his life that he wanted to. Yeah. So
I won't. I chalked it up to as well. Exactly.
I thought it was weird too, though.
The things that I like not criticize, but like pointed out or like stuck with me as something I didn't love about the movie. Like I forgive because I know like how important this movie is to Steven Spielberg, and he's choosing to put it in for a reason. So like I gotta say too, I think my favorite moment in the movie comes in the very end with David Lynch as John Ford. Man,
that was
sequence great.
That was great. That's probably my favorite moment. Yeah, that's probably one of my favorite moments in it. It was really good.
Without a doubt. I just love seeing him in an acting role. You just don't see a whole lot. And he just was hilarious in his little 3-minute, 4-minute segment. And I'd forgotten that was happening because I remember I looked over and we had like 5 minutes left. This is right before the scene with David Lynch happened. I remember looking over at Cam and we were like, where's David Lynch been in this movie? Like kind of forgot although that he was cast in it. And then sure enough, then that scene unplayed and I was like laughing. It was so great. But I gotta say, as much as like it wasn't my favorite Spielberg movie, it was definitely among like his most inspiring because it's so on the nose about, you know, a young filmmaker, someone falling in love with movies and stopping at nothing to become a filmmaker. Like in that regard, it felt very cathartic to watch. And I did really enjoy it overall. I'd say I'd give it like a 7.5, 8 out of 10. Great.
I guess 7.5.
I'll see it again.
Solid 7.5. I thought too. I think what he's always been good at, and he continues to be good at, and he's been good at this since he got his start. I think he can kind of evoke these kind of like almost childlike things out of viewers. Like when you're watching his movies, like even if if you're 10, you feel the excitement of being a 10-year-old, and if you're like 30, 40, and you're watching something that it'll make you recall that feeling of being like a kid again, depending on what you're watching. So like,
Yes.
I don't matter how old I am, I can watch ET and still feel like a child watching ET. That same level of excitement while watching it. And he's always been good at
Hmm.
that. He's always been good at like tapping into that. And I think that's because he
He's
feels it himself.
he's
And
very
he
in touch with his inner child. You can just
right,
tell,
right.
but not in like a goofy sort of way or anything
But
like that.
wait,
Just
yeah,
he,
right,
like you said, he can evoke those childhood emotions and feelings about his properties.
right.
And amidst all this talk about like how how closely inspired this movie was to his actual childhood, because like IMDb says like, in the description says loosely based on
Right.
Spielberg's life, but I came across this interesting quote from Seth Rogen that I wanted to share when I read it. It's on IMDb's trivia page and kind of really puts into perspective how personal the movie was for Spielberg. So the quote opens, it says, Seth Rogen told reporters that Steven Spielberg often became emotional on set during production. Quote, it was a very emotional experience. He was crying a lot on set, he said. It's very directly based on his life, and pretty much everything that happens in the movie is something that happened to him. As we were shooting, I'd be like, did this happen in real life? And the answer was yes, 100% of the time. I thought that
Wow.
was really insightful. So very much
Yeah. And what a way to like
life.
what a way to kind of do a biopic about yourself without making it one, kind of, without
I like
making it
that
a big,
approach.
without making it a big deal that this is about me. I mean, it was always like in the trades that like, okay, this is loosely based on his life, but if it's more closely based to his life, and even like maybe he wanted to like make public, initially when the movie came out, then I think that's really cool that he was able to do this without being like, this is a movie about Steven Spielberg. Like,
I
I think
agree. It takes
and that can maybe
away.
take you out. Yeah, it takes away from it. It may take you out of it too if you're like, all right, this is about him. If you're kind of just learning that while you're watching it, I think probably a much better way of seeing the movie. That's
I
kind of cool that
100% agree.
that's cool that Seth Rogen had that experience and like he was able to like he saw that and was able to ask him about that. That's really cool actually.
I'm like super jealous of him for getting to work like on that movie of all movies with Steven
I
Spielberg.
know.
Like that would have been such an awesome moment when he got cast for that. I like would have must have been jumping for joy. Yeah, that whole fact just takes. I didn't feel this way going into it, but knowing that really eliminates all the chance for that movie to come across as pretentious, which it doesn't. And normally you'd think a movie about a director's life written by him could come
Yeah.
across that way, like, oh, look at me and who I've become, and you know, invested in this 2.5 hour movie about my life, but it doesn't come
Yeah.
across that way at all. Just very
No.
naturally, just him telling the story of his childhood and how he fell in love with movie making, and that's just exactly that's how I'd put that movie.
Yeah, I agree. Very,
Yeah, so
very
good
well
watch.
said. Yeah, yeah, good watch. And that's what's yeah, and I enjoyed it too. It's not my pick for best picture. I'm still on
No,
the
me either.
everything. I'm still on the everything train, like full steam ahead.
Right.
I'm hoping that
Yep.
wins. But I would be also it's Spielberg. I wouldn't be upset if it won
Of
either.
course not. Of
Yeah.
course not. Yeah, that was pretty much it. I got in the week. It was a light week for me. But what did you get in?
It was very like I had a really busy week, just because there are a lot of trailers that dropped this week,
That's right.
on top of preparing for the Super Bowl trailers. But I will say this, like sometimes when I don't have time to like watch anything like I want to pay attention to, I I went on Hulu and went on like this like down this rabbit hole of like true crime documentaries. It was like I was
Oh,
like I could like so I was like watching one called like Death of the Dorms. And there's like 7 episodes of like different like true crime murders that either happened on college campuses or like near them,
shit.
right? And I was like, all right, I'm just gonna watch like one episode, and then all of a sudden I like look up and it's like episode 6 and I haven't turned it off, and I was just like fully invested. And then so
Oh,
that's
that's
over.
awesome.
So that's over, right? And I'm like, all right, I wonder if they have any more. And then like, of course, when you watch one, they suggest like others. And so then
Right.
like right below it is like this one called How I Caught My Killer, which is like the premise is basically like all these true crime cases have to do with like, oh, like maybe they sent a text to a family member that like that's how we knew where they were going or where they were, or like, or they left this like letter, like if anything happens to me, this is who did it. It was like kind of stories like that. Again,
Okay, neat.
I was gonna watch one episode, and then all of a sudden it's like episode 8 and I
Oh,
couldn't
well.
like turn it off. So guys, I know this is like movie, TV, pop culture mostly, and I will do my very best, I usually do, to watch like actual stuff that we can really talk about. But then sometimes I get sucked into like these like the ID channel is like my obsession, dude. Like I will turn that on and be like, and I'll just get stuck like watching like
Right.
several hours of like true crime that oddly enough for some reason every episode I watch happen to take place in the Midwest. I'm like, what's going on in Ohio? Why is there always like things going on there?
It's always Ohio, man. What's
It's
going
always
on in
Ohio.
Ohio?
Always Ohio. I watched like 3 episodes of one time, 3 hours straight. Each one they took place in Ohio, and they were different shows. So I was like, different shows. So I was like, yeah, but yeah, man. Like, I think a lot of people have that kind of like true crime documentary obsession. Like a lot of people like either get
It's
into it.
massively popular these days.
Yeah, I mean, there's a reason why there's so many like true crime like podcasts too. Like even regular people that like want to dive into like these cases on their own, like create their own shows to kind of like talk about this stuff. So I'm glad I'm not the only one. I'm not in this sea by myself.
No, you're not. You're in the majority, I'd say. Absolutely. For sure. I like it. I don't find I go out of my way to find this stuff, but like every once in a while when something catches my attention, I do watch it. I still gotta watch Making a Murderer, like season 1 of that. I never got into that.
Oh,
and I've
yeah,
always wanted
really
to see it. Yeah,
it's really good.
I'm missing out on a lot of good stuff.
Yeah, and all these streaming platforms. I mean, except maybe HBO Max has a lot of these stuff. A lot of these true
That's
crime
right.
on like so. You have if you want to jump into this stuff, there is a plethora of true crime docs that you can like get into, and like, dude, sometimes I'll even watch like they'll cover one case on like one show, and then I'll watch another show that's covering that case too, thinking that all right, I'm not gonna get any new information, but sometimes you do. Sometimes they will cover things that the other show didn't cover. So I'm like, God, how'd you guys leave this out? Like, come on, this was like really good. But yeah, to all our listeners, I promise I will be watching something much better than true crime documentaries on.
Hey, that fits, man. That's what we cover. So I'd say all the power to you. Watch as much true crime as you want. People probably come here looking for us to cover stuff like that too. So there you go.
Oh, there you go. Okay, well, you know what? Thank you. I will appreciate the support, the emotional support for watching this stuff. Yeah.
Are you a person that like has to like sleep with the lights on after you watch true crime stuff, or are you like desensitized to it? Because it doesn't really creep me out.
I'm pretty good at it. You know, the one that actually did get to me, even though it took place in like the 80s, but it was in like parts of Los Angeles, was like the Night Stalker one. Because
awesome miniseries.
The way they did that, just the way it was shot and the way they put it together, it was genuinely creepy. That was one I like turned the lights on after after I was like done watching it. Definitely, yeah. And like, you know, the whole time I'm watching it, and my biggest takeaway from it, I was like, all right, I guess no one in the 80s wanted to like lock their doors or lock their windows.
That, is that an American thing? Like, do you have friends that don't lock their doors? Because in Canada, man, we're locking our fucking doors.
So I lock my doors here, but apparently my friends who also live in the South Bay, so the South where we live, it's like Redondo Beach, Hermosa Beach, Manhattan Beach. They're all really close together.
Okay.
I found that a lot of my friends have said that they leave their doors unlocked, and some of them will say, well, we live in the South Bay, we live by the beach. I'm like, no, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, until it happens to them.
Yeah, then someone walks up in your house. Then someone walks up in your house. So like, yeah, I lock my doors, but like a lot of people here don't. And I think that's crazy, especially after watching shit like that. So like,
exactly, man. There's just too many psychos out there. Or even someone accidentally walking into, like, I've heard of even people in my apartment building like leaving their doors unlocked. I had a buddy actually come to us, walked into a neighbor's apartment thinking it was ours, and like there's this guy sitting in his apartment. I'm like, I don't want that happening to me.
Exactly.
It's not nefarious. I don't want someone stolen into my place. Like, I'm locking my door.
Lock your door, dude.
It always blows me away when people don't do it.
My buddy Michael yesterday was telling a story about his roommate Chloe has a boyfriend, and the boyfriend was sleepwalking and sleptwalk into his room, and then started messing with the TV. And he was kind of like, dude, like didn't want to like, because like, I could tell he's sleepwalking, so I don't know what to do. But then he said he turned around and tried to climb in his bed, and he was like, all right, like wake up, and he like basically like jolted him awake. And he was like, I had to draw the line at like climbing in my bed. But yeah, like, you know, creepy stuff like, yeah.
Sleepwalking is a weird phenomenon, man. I've never experienced it, at least not that I know of. I've never sleptwalked that I've been aware of, and I've never seen anyone do it. I've heard like a story of my dad sleepwalking before, but I've never encountered it, and it honestly freaks me out, man. If I did like to see someone up and about with their eyes closed walking, it would freak me out. Fucking weird, man.
We also discussed yesterday that I was like, you know what's my biggest fear more than sleepwalking is sleep talking, because I was like, you don't know what you might say like in your sleep, especially if you're with someone and you're like, what did you say in your like, I don't know, I don't remember. So that was another one that's like, don't want that to happen either.
Strange.
Very strange. All right, let's get to it. It was pretty, you know, I wish the numbers for the Super Bowl were out already, because like I think last year like 117 million people tuned in to the Super Bowl, and
Oh,
it also like peaked very heavily always peaks during the halftime show.
I have to.
And then I kept trying to figure. I asked like one of my friends, and this actually makes sense. Like yesterday, like how do they determine where your ad is going to go during the whole like game? And
It's a
I was
great
wondering,
question.
is it better for your ad to be during the first half or second half? And some people were saying that it makes more sense for the second half because your audience peaks at a halftime show, and then maybe someone that doesn't want to watch the whole game will probably tune in to like the end of the third quarter, beginning of the fourth, and then just watch it till the end.
Right.
So like audience does tend to, I guess peak after the halftime. So I guess it would make sense like you would want your ad. I mean, anywhere during the show is great, but like I'm
Exactly.
guessing towards the in the second half, it probably is the best
That makes sense to me.
spot for it to be in. But yeah, I mean, I'm sure they're still kind of calculating all those numbers because it's they usually have like early ratings out. I'm sure it's going to be a highly viewed game because it was like a lot of diehard Kansas City Eagles fans were really excited to watch it, and
Right.
whole time the game was good. I kept saying like, you know, who's really happy about this is fucking Fox. They're like, yes, like
Yeah. No doubt.
keep this going as long as you can, stretch it out. They're probably hoping for some OT if they could get it.
Absolutely. You said last year they clocked in 117 million
I
viewers.
think, yeah.
Okay. I that was just lower than I would have guessed. I heard as high as like 200 million as like the average.
It can't. So
Um,
yes, I guess now too. What I probably didn't factor in too. I guess like in the last few years, people just don't watch it live too. They like you did. You streamed it, so
right.
they count that as well. So that gets thrown in later. So yep, you
Through
could be
that.
close. That could be a more accurate,
I'd
like
be interested to see
overall
those numbers too.
across. Yeah,
Absolutely.
but of course, because the game is so huge, like every studio wants to like their biggest tentpole releases like on the eyes of everyone watching.
Right.
You know, we were talking about this. We were just talking about this. How like some of these trailers actually debuted early, and then in the case of like the Fast 10 trailer, they debuted first of all, they had a full on like event at LA Live here in Los Angeles to premiere the trailer, and Vin Diesel was
Okay.
there, Michelle Rodriguez, Tyrese, Ludacris, I think Sun King was there who plays Han. They're all there to like present this 3.5 minute trailer to like fans and various members of the press, right? And
Right.
they actually did this before for Fast 9. They did an event in Miami because this is Universal's like this is their MCU. So
Yeah.
so,
Exactly.
so
Honestly.
they pump all they can into promoting it. And then I go through these kind of things sometimes where I'm like, I don't know if I really care anymore. Do I care? And then I think they released it was like a teaser for like tickets going on sale. And it was just the cast getting out of cars. And I was like, I'm so hyped for this. I was like, I'm so hyped for this. So that's all I need to see.
Yeah.
And then I know we complain about long trailers because this one was 3.5 minutes. I think it might be a little longer.
It's 340. It's 340.
Yeah,
The whole first act of the movie, man.
But the whole time I was like, I don't care. I'm all in. Like every time I think I'm like, because Fast 9 wasn't great. It wasn't horrible. I mean, I got
it leaned into the silliness a little bit more, which I can appreciate.
Yeah.
That it, but still get this vibe that it takes itself so seriously, and that is for me where I step back a little bit.
But
it's nice that it ropes you back in, like because diehard fans of that series are the most loyal fans of any movie property ever. So
yeah,
you're not alone.
Yeah, you know, what I got, the impression I got, because yes, there is a lot of over the top action in the trailer. We saw a lot of that. It seems like they're trying to ground it again and like make it more character driven, and like because the trailer wasn't all absurdities, you know, it like seemed like they wanted to like get into like, and I know that like that was a complaint from fans that one fan actually openly commented on Vin Diesel's Instagram like when they were started filming this movie that they wanted it to get back to basics a bit and like remember when you were about street racing, and like I get it, I understand that because
a long time ago.
That's a long time ago, right? And I get it because The Fast and the Furious is still my favorite one of all of them, and it does the least as far as like stunts and all like the biggest stunt in The Fast and the Furious is watching a car go underneath a truck.
Is that the fourth one?
No, the fourth one is Fast and Furious. That's when they brought
which
all
one?
The Fast and the Furious is the first one. Yeah, so that's like the best one.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, of course. The first one. Yes. Yes. That's the Civic go under the transport truck.
Yeah, that's the biggest stunt in that movie. And now we
my favorite one as well.
Now like is it kind of hard? Can you really dial it back when you've gone so far?
I think they're way too far gone to even talk about bringing it back to basics. Like those, if you watch the first one and then even just watch the trailer for Fast 10 or even just watch Fast 9, you're looking
Yeah,
at, like, to me, what seem like completely different properties, save for the characters and the
yeah.
cars. So
When
to me, they're just so different.
oh, it's so funny though. 'Cause I think most of us, when the actual spot came on during the Super Bowl, everyone, the collective was like, "Yeah, this is absurd," but like, I'm all in. I want to see it. I
Right,
gotta
right,
see
right.
it.
Yeah,
I'm all for it. And then when it was over, all it was like a little silent afterwards. I was like, remember when they originally were just stealing DVD players? Like that was like what they were doing in the first movie, and now they're like international like heist experts. Oh, whatever. It
exactly.
is
And like world stakes and stuff. Like, as much as it is fun, it's just, I almost wish it was like they embrace it as like a different prop. I know that's hard to do, but the only issue is like where it started so humble and like and like as a car racing franchise, and then it's ballooned to something so much else. I don't necessarily mind that it's doing all these bigger stake action sequences and stuff, but
yeah,
it's just hard to separate it from its origin. That's where I have trouble with the series.
right.
But forget that and just go in one movie at a time and just embrace like a big action epic blockbuster.
Yeah,
You're gonna have fun with that for sure. And that's how I'm gonna approach it, because I'm sure I'll see it.
yeah. So what I liked about the trailer, I think Jason Momoa seems pretty cool as like the
I
villain.
agree. I
I
agree.
and I'm glad that they're kind of like they're not just like plopping him in there. It looks like he was connected somehow to like what happened in Fast Five in Brazil, and like they're kind of like looping
Mm,
that back, and that seems I'm glad they're just not just throwing a new villain in there and like you know just running with it. And like I
right.
don't know, Jason Momoa. I mean, I like him, so like me, Jason Momoa is like mostly all charisma, and I feel like he's displaying that at least in that trailer alone. Like this part's like perfect
He's
for him
having fun. He's not
having
been a
fun.
villain before. He even said this, right? Like he's excited to
Yeah,
be in a
be a
bad
bad guy.
role.
Yeah, and
Yeah. We'll see what
I
he does with it.
also, I also, assumed that he would be back, but they didn't really announce that he was going to be back. But John Cena is in this one. They actually didn't make a big deal about him coming back from Fast Nine. I don't know if they just wanted to
That's
keep it a
right.
secret or not. So that was kind of cool to see that he's back in. I mean, I know people were like mixed on him in the last one. I thought he was fine. It was like tailored role was
Uh,
completely tailored to
Taylor
him.
made
So
exactly. I
so
honestly don't really remember much about him, and I've seen it once, but I don't recall much, so I don't
yeah,
have much of an
he
opinion.
was Dom's little brother. Because they just threw
That
that
was
in
just
there.
retconned into the series.
Yeah.
Like, a
Well,
little bit
well,
later.
they've been retconning this franchise forever. Like they,
Forever.
I mean, they were like, how do we keep Han? Well, we can say that Fast and Furious, Fast Five, and Fast Six takes place before Tokyo Drift, and they'll go with it,
Yeah.
and they'll go with
Uh,
it, and then
yeah.
we'll make up some absurd way to bring him back to life, so we can bring him back in Fast Nine. I'm
Oh my
at,
god.
at this point, and I know for sure, we all know Giselle Gal Gadot. We know she died in Fast Six. I would not
Right.
be surprised if they were like, "Yo, she's alive."
Yeah.
Like I
If
would be
the price
surprised.
is right, we'll see Gal Gadot again. I'm sure now
Yeah,
that she's
because
probably got a.
yeah,
She'll be
she's not busy. Yeah, and she's. I mean, well,
exactly. Yeah,
yeah,
she's got some time to fill with
yeah.
not having Wonder Woman now. So maybe we will see her in Fast 11, which is so. Which number is Fast 10 in the new trilogy? Is it the first of the new trilogy or the second?
So I think so. I think Fast 9, 10, and so like 10 is gonna be it's gonna be considered. I guess you're right by calling it 11, but they're trying to be tricky by saying like this is part one of our like conclusion. They're basically like splitting it up into
Oh.
two movies. They're giving it like the Harry Potter Twilight
Oh, okay.
treatment.
I see.
Might as well just call it Fast 11. It's like it's. I mean, after this. So yeah, Fast 9, Fast 10, and whatever they. This is the beginning
Call the
of
next
the
one.
end, though. Like they're basically considering this one and the next one is like end of the saga.
Right.
I'm sure Universal will find a way to bring it back,
Oh
um,
yeah.
at some capacity. I was also surprised. I think Brie Larson popped up in the trailer two or three times, not a lot. But I know she's playing someone named Tess, and
Oh.
there's a lot of speculation online that they might ever be related to like Brian, to Paul Walker's character.
Mm,
That's not confirmed. But in the little snippet, she looked badass. I like Brie Larson. I know some people don't. I enjoy
right.
her. I think she'll be a lovely addition to the cast. And Charlize Theron is back as Cypher.
Yeah.
Another villain. Looks like she has
Did
like a throwdown fight with Michelle Rodriguez in the movie, for something from the trailer.
did you see about that scene? Did you see people are speculating that her and Michelle Rodriguez are going to be doing a little face swapping action, some face off stuff?
Oh, it's a little face
People are
off stuff.
thinking that's what that's doing. Yeah. Wake up beside each other on these tables, and Michelle Rodriguez looks over. She's like, "You got to be kidding me!" And then I don't know what that's all going to be about, but someone had a convincing argument, if you will, about perhaps doing some face swapping stuff. I was like, I wouldn't put
Yeah.
it past the series to try that out, but who knows?
Well, fuck. Do you remember what I said 3 minutes ago about it seeming more grounded? I think I just ruined
Yeah.
my point. Never mind.
Yeah.
Never mind. I don't know.
We'll
Like I
see.
said, it boils down to it just looks fun, and I'm sure they're gonna try to raise the stakes. So this is the second to last one. My thing is, and maybe I'm expecting too much from this, little franchise that started about street racing and has become the superhero of like car movies.
Right.
So like Sun King, right? So I wasn't necessarily upset that Han was back, but
Right.
I kind of need something to happen that sticks. So like I don't really want to lose any of the franchise
Right.
mainstays, but I think something real has to like really happen. Like they need to like really face serious stakes.
Absolutely.
Maybe losing one of them, like for real.
Real for real, because
For real.
no,
Not for play.
no, everyone comes back, and
Yeah.
there's a massive trend of each previous villain now joining like the family going
Yeah.
forward, which I find again
Jason Statham, like
Jason Statham, John Cena, probably Cypher. I wouldn't be surprised.
you would be surprised. Yeah, she has a change of heart.
It just, and I haven't experienced this yet, but I can't help but feel like going back and watching these now family members being a bad guy in a previous movie just takes away all that tension and like the feeling of them being the bad guy to me. I don't know if other people experience that, but that's what it feels like.
It kind of
come
you remember
across as.
when the Fate God, there's so many of these I gotta get it right. When the Fate of the Furious came out, and Jason Statham, who was like a pretty bad villain in Furious 7,
Right.
ended up kind of helping them and kind of joining them a little bit.
Right.
And that's what started the whole Justice for Han hashtag, because everyone was like, what the fuck? Why don't they
Yes.
just like so easily let him
Exactly.
in? Like he should not be chilling having Coronas with them at the family barbecue.
Feeling. Yeah.
Like
the dinner table with them.
you do remember he murdered your best friend, one of your best friends. Like
murdered.
Right. Yeah. So, but I guess they're like, dude, like whatever we got to do to like keep Jason Statham around. Also, I also want to point this out too. Jason Statham knows where to get his paychecks, because he could have easily been like, "Yo, I'm a Hobbs and Shaw guy. I don't want to do these movies. I'm with Dwayne." And then he probably was like, "No, man, that's between you guys." Like,
exactly.
I want to come back for real.
I'll admit too, I do think Jason brings a good presence to the series.
Oh, yeah.
I love him. I've always loved him since I was a kid, and he's just great, a great action star. So I think his British banter is always such a treat too.
He's someone to me that like actually, because like I didn't realize he was funny until I saw that movie Spy that he was in with Melissa McCarthy, and like he's really funny. But he's been one of those people. He's one of those people that I've never cared was like one note. I was like, this is your lane, you know it, and I think that's good. I think like let's just keeping it within the franchise. Michelle Rodriguez reminds me of that too. I was like, hey, like you know that you're like the badass kind of like tomboyish kind of thing, but like it works for her. And she's made a career out of doing it. I think they asked her a long time ago, like, would she want to play like the romantic lead, like a romantic comedy? She's like, I am a
god.
But she was like, I can't picture. But she said not in the traditional sense, because she's like, yeah, I'm a girl. I like girl things. Like I want to feel love and like romance, but she also knows like she's like not that girl. So like and she plays to her strengths, and I respect that. Like I
absolutely me too.
So like. Yeah, guys, we went down like a whole hole with the whole like Fast and Furious, and that's only one trailer. Yeah, for all you guys interested, the trailer is online. There is the 3 minute. You said 3 minute and 40 seconds.
Exactly.
That one's online, and then you can also watch the Big Game Spot, which is a minute that they aired during the Super Bowl. It's a little different. Just basically like if you don't want to have maybe the whole movie ruined for you, maybe watch the 1 minute trailer. But yeah, that movie comes out on May 19th. It's probably gonna be huge one, because that's like it's gonna take advantage of the whole like Memorial Day box office too. Like that's gonna, I think it might actually. I don't know if it kicks off summer movie season. There might be something like a week or two before that. But
I was about to say those exact same words. It's gonna kick off the summer movie season.
And I think I know some people were like not happy with Fast Nine. I was kind of one of them. I was like accepted it for what it was, but
Right.
I kind of think that the complaints, like, it's interesting because you liked, well, I won't say liked it. You enjoyment from it because it kind of leaned into itself and was like, we're absurd. And there are some people that didn't like it for that reason. That they're like, yeah, I know we joked about them going to space, but you really sent two of them to space.
That was the moment where I was like, "Hey, I cannot take this seriously in any regard anymore." So, good for them for,
Yeah,
embracing the absurdity. That's why I give them points.
I thought I lost it when Fate of the Furious, when like there's like a torpedo and they're all like on the ice, and
Yes.
I think The Rock grabs it. I don't know how, because he's The Rock. Whatever.
Right. Vin is like escaping the scene, like makes a ramp off of ice and like curves it around a submarine, and then the missile
Yeah,
hits the
yeah.
submarine. And at that point, I remember looking over and I was like, bro, like, what am I watching here?
And I think there's also
That
one
took me
scene in
out
that
of it.
movie where it's like legit raining cars. Like there was like cars like coming off like a rooftop, and I was like,
Yeah.
yeah, this is where we're
Yeah.
at.
Yeah. You're
this is
right. Oh my God.
this is where we're at. And then like watching that one, I was like, remember when like the franchise actually took a moment and paid respect to like its fallen star in that previous installment, and it was actually a really good, grounded, really good moment. And
Yes.
maybe the franchise should have ended there. Like,
Absolutely it should have.
Brian's happy, he has kids, he's with Mia. You guys going, I guess, yeah, Letty got her memory back. Everything was like wrapped
Yeah.
up pretty good with
Perfectly.
Furious 7, but like more money needs to be made, I guess.
Exactly. That is like always that will be the example that I use of like just corporate influences like
Yeah,
taking precedent over like the art, if you want to call it Fast and Furious art. I guess in a sense it is, but it's
yeah,
one of the worst offenders of the studio disregarding like what could have been a great ending and just for the sake of more capital. And I can't
yeah,
blame them. Like one way, it is a product. There's money to be made and a lot of money to be made. Those are
yeah,
billion-dollar movies. It stings to see, like, especially like seeing Brian, who I'm assuming is Brian in the trailer for this movie. How are they going to approach this when they just had such a good ending for his character?
yeah.
I don't know
So,
what to
so
expect.
like this has always been a struggle too, because I've had a crush on Jordana Brewster since like The Faculty. Like I
Oh,
love her. I love her.
yeah,
So
she's
like
fantastic.
and I like her in these movies, right? So like I want Mia there, but it makes zero sense for her to be, especially in the last one. Like I like that
Yeah,
she was. It was cool that she was there. She got to have like a cool like fight scene with her and Michelle Rodriguez, like kicking ass. That was awesome. But like you wouldn't leave your husband, who was like, I guess he's retired. I mean, I don't know. Like he wouldn't let you go off and like into danger. And I know that Dom's her brother. Then they kind of use it as like, yeah, it's her brother, whatever. And then there's that throwaway line in Fast Nine where like, oh, like you shouldn't be here. And she's like, well, Brian would like want me to be here. Like, no, he wouldn't. Like he would not put you in danger like that. So like it
you're,
stretches, and I think that's one of the things. And like I'm speculating here, but Justin Lin left directing this last one like pretty much at the start of production.
I forgot about that.
He was having a
Yeah.
lot of creative differences with Vin Diesel. I know in the original draft that they wrote, Mia was not in it, and since this was the last one, I can understand why Vin Diesel was like, "Hey, this is the last one, second to last one, whatever. Like she should be there." But then I probably was like stretching their fucking creative muscles. Like, well, how do we provide an excuse for her to be there? That makes sense.
Yeah.
And I think that was just one of the things they had like an issue about. But like, they went back and wrote another draft, and she's in this one. I don't know how much. It could be just as much as she was in Furious 7, because she's not even in that one a lot. But that was one of the things. And like as a fan, you're like happy she's there. But then yeah, as a movie watcher, you're like, it doesn't make sense for her to be there.
If you
Like
think about it critically for a moment, it kind of falls apart, but you just can't think of them that way.
happy with her kids and her husband, away from all
Exactly.
this.
At this
Like,
point, you just got to throw logic out the window with these movies if you want to have any chance of like just enjoying them for what they are, which are mindless action epics.
yeah, there you go. Yeah, there.
Yeah,
Universal's MCU. Yeah, well, we'll
exactly. I
like
love
that.
that comparison. Is so true.
$1 billion franchise. I get it. Do you, Universal? But yes, out on May 19th. So I guess like the next biggest trailer, I would have led with this one, but the Fast 10 trailer came out first. But like,
Yep.
we got our first look at the Flash, and
Yes, we did.
actually came out online before it came out during the game. Uh,
Yep.
but it looks really good. I mean,
I'm I'm
I
gonna say I I I'm more excited for it than I would have thought I would
What?
be before seeing
Yeah,
the trailer. Because like me and like what I've said in the past, like especially considering like just where we know DC is going in the future, it's hard
yeah,
to get excited about these leftover movies that aren't
I
going
know.
to really mean anything going forward. But
Yeah,
dude, like seeing Michael Keaton as Batman, and even though like I like Batfleck, I think he's cool in the role. Like he's
yeah,
not like why I'm invested in these movies, but the fact that we're going to be seeing two Batmen
yeah.
going like in it, I'm like, I'll be watching that movie for the Batman stuff. Let's say that,
I
and I'm
think everyone
excited.
will be watching it for the Batman
Yeah,
stuff. So what they did ahead of the trailer, which was smart, they released like this the first poster for it, which like image didn't catch my eye at first. I just was watching like he had the image of like the Flash, and then you look up and
right.
there's like the whole Batman symbols like right above it. I was like, oh, that's really smart.
Exactly.
So they're
Super
so they're
cool.
leaning in heavy on Batman nostalgia because they know that like
Right.
a lot of everyone on Twitter is just excited about Michael Keaton like being back as Batman. I mean, for a lot of
I'm
people,
giddy. I'm
yeah,
giddy
for
over him,
a lot of
man.
people,
Can't wait.
he's a lot of people's favorite Batman still. I mean,
Yeah.
like I still think Christian Bale overall because I think because like three movies, three cohesive movies, watching him play that part, he's still my
Yes.
favorite to like take on that
Absolutely.
role.
Means he'll always be mine.
But like if you grew up with the 1989 movie and then Batman Returns, Michael Keaton did a lot. Like I think people are struggle being critical of Batman and Batman Returns because most of us grew up with it and like it was a perfect movie to us growing up. But
Yeah.
he's a pretty underwritten role in those two movies. Like he gets like a little, I mean, it's a little better in Batman Returns because he clearly is the star, but it's like he's always like in those two movies a little bit sidelined by the villains, and especially in the original Batman, that is Jack Nicholson's movie.
Okay.
That's a Joker, but Michael Keaton still does a lot with very little, and he also has like voice down. I mean, he looks great in
Yeah.
the suit.
He
I mean,
looks awesome in
like,
the suit.
so like for a lot of people, it's crazy. Like in the '80s, like when he first got cast, everyone was like, "Why are you casting him?" Because he was mostly known for like comedy a little bit back then. Like he had done Beetlejuice, and like everyone was
Oh
like,
yeah, right on.
they were like, that guy. I mean, this happens all the time with roles like this because like with his role, it was like that guy. When Heath Ledger got announced playing the Joker, they're like, oh, the guy from A Knight's Tale, like, and he ended up being great.
Right.
And
Robert
then
Pattinson.
Pattinson,
It's
oh, the guy from
controversial. Yeah.
Twilight. Yeah. So it always ends up working out in the end for the most part.
Exactly. Twilight stuff is going to touch people because that was so far removed. Just a side
Yeah.
rant.
And he's also very good in other stuff. Like
He's come a
yeah,
long way since then. Even before
yeah,
Batman came out, he was
yeah,
not that actor.
yeah.
But yeah.
So it looks like, we're kind of diving at first in this kind of like multiverse thing. It looks like we're getting two Barrys. That means two Ezra Millers
Right.
on the big screen. You can tell that they can't really shy away from like it's Ezra Miller's, he's the lead and all over that trailer, man. But I guess like kind of like sneaking in, like not really sneaking in, but kind of playing on the whole like Batman nostalgia is the way to go to kind of distract people from like, hey, it's not just Ezra Miller's movie. Like this is like
That's right.
we can, and even the stuff they show with like Supergirl looks kind of cool. Like the little snippets they had of that. They also released some really cool character posters. I think late last night or early this morning that they released the Batman
Saw
one
those
first.
under
They
story.
look great. Like they look
They
like
do.
like whole marketing behind this. Like if I had little faith before, like, oh, I wonder why they're so invested. I can kind of feel it now why they're invested. And and then what James Gunn said when he announced his slate, when he said that he thinks this is one of the greatest superhero movies ever made. That's a big
Uh,
thing for him to say.
that is
Big
a big
thing.
thing for him to say. I don't know how seriously I take that. Even though I'm feeling better about this movie after the trailer, I'll believe it when I see it. I'll put it that way. I'm not gonna think
Yeah.
or take that seriously, especially considering what he has on the line. He wants people to go see this. So, but I will be interested. I'll let him know. I will agree if it is among the best. I'll say
Yeah.
it. I have no problem, taking it back. But I'm
Yeah.
excited for it. Does it
Visually
seem
looks great
like
too. I think visually it
visually
looks really
awesome?
good as well. Yeah.
As I mentioned in the past, I'm not hugely knowledgeable on the Flash, but do you have any experience with like knowing like what comic inspiration for this movie, if that's gonna leave any sort of possibility for them creating like the next DC
Yeah.
universe? Like,
So I am. I'm gonna pull this up too. 'Cause I don't want to like completely butcher it. Because
right?
when I was growing up, I was more of a Marvel person than a DC
Okay,
comic book person. But like one thing that James Gunn has said is that this movie is pretty much going to be like it will reset the DCU, which I think
Right.
is why I think that his DCU, as we know it, kicks off with his Superman movie. And I think this is a good way to kind of like, I guess this is a good way, like, if they want to keep, like they said, they can keep Gal Gadot as Wonder Woman, they can keep Jason Momoa as Aquaman, they can keep Ezra Miller as the Flash. I guess if they want to, this kind of multiverse storyline allows them to, if they need to.
Okay.
But it
Right.
also can, like, if they need to reset it completely, it can also
Maybe.
kind of serve as that as well. I wanted to kind of, so yeah, the film is influenced by 2011 comic book crossover called Flashpoint. And it was a limited series and it had a number of tie-in titles as well. And it details an altered DC universe in which only Barry Allen seems to be aware of significant differences between the regular timeline and the altered one, including different characters placed within the universe. So there's like, that's why we're able to have, two Batman
Right. Okay.
and stuff like that. So the storyline allows for them to, I guess, go either way they want. If they want to, like, he can still be the Flash, and if they want to keep him within that timeline, that's fine.
Mhm.
And if they want, I think they are kind of using the movie though to kind of reset other things as we know it too, like kind of be like, hey, like Ben Affleck Batman is gone,
Right.
Black Adam, that's not going to exist anymore. Like this kind of can reset. This will be like how we're going to like start fresh without, like you said, without
Right.
making it seem like these last three, or I guess like what, Shazam,
This and
Blue Beetle.
Aquaman?
I guess
Oh,
to
Blue
an
Beetle
extent,
too,
Blue
yeah.
Beetle, Aquaman, and this don't seem like they're just like throwaway movies. Like we went like, oh, like they still are like. I'm still on the fence too about whether or not, like, are they important still, or like should we just like ignore them, like whatever. Are you
I
gonna
guess we
like,
just got to take them one at a time to really see where things can go. Which honestly, the release of Aquaman and not so much Blue Beetle, because I just don't know much about it or how much it's going to tie into the existing DCEU. But the release of Aquaman, which is going to be what, like around Christmas time? Is it December
Yeah.
of this year?
Yeah, I think
It's like 5-6 months after the Flash. I'm wondering like where that movie's going to fit in the extended universe. If it's going to be a prequel of sorts to the Flash, because the Flash seems like it's going to be the one to end of the DCEU.
Yeah, that's what I think too.
I'm
Oh yeah,
curious how they're going to go about
so
Aquaman too.
that Aquaman sequel has a big question mark on it as far as like
Big question mark.
where it kind of sits within the universe, I guess.
Time will tell.
Yeah, that's right. And what else would I want to say about this? I mean, I guess I'm just surprised that, considering all the stuff that we heard about it, good and bad, most of the bad dealing with its lead star, it looks like it, from that trailer, it looks like it came together. It's coming together pretty well. And so like it gave me kind of a bit more excitement to like dive into it a bit more.
I was pleasantly surprised, especially with the Batman stuff. I was like just feeling giddy about it, and I'm looking forward to seeing Michael Keaton back on screen too as the Caped Crusader.
Yeah, and Warner Brothers continue to lean into that Batman nostalgia, because I think that's going to be your biggest and best selling point for this movie. If you can't rely fully on Ezra Miller, bank on Michael Keaton and his Batman, because people really want to see it. I mean, he really, really want to see him back in the role. I mean, this is someone he's up there in age. I mean, still seems like he like in great shape, can still play these kind of roles, but like even like people still want him back in this role, and I think that's like a testament to how like good he is.
Exactly.
Like I said, with very little, but he like does like a lot with like.
He's a special actor, dude. I love Michael Keaton. He will definitely go down as one of the best of his generation, even if he is a little overlooked. I feel sometimes maybe like different generations don't feel that way, but like feel like I don't really hear a lot of him.
Yeah, he kind of had a lull in like late 90s, early 2000s. Like he was making not so great movies. I remember after Jackie Brown, because he's in that, and I was like, oh, like at least he's in a Tarantino movie. But then after that, he kind of like, I think even before that, he did like Multiplicity and like a lot of really bad movies. But then he had like a good little comeback with like Birdman, and he got nominated for an Oscar, and like that helped. And then of course he did
awesome in Birdman.
Awesome in that, and then he did Spotlight like pretty much right after that. So like he
kind of had Founder right after that.
Right after that, and then of course he joins like Marvel thing with Spider-Man Homecoming, plays Vulture. Like, so he had like a, like I think every so often like we have these actors who like they're saying that about Brendan Fraser having his little like career resurgence. There's always like one person that kind of like pops back in, and like that was Michael Keaton like a few years ago, where it's like, oh, now he's like everywhere again, and and we're all better for it. He's everywhere again.
I just
Making
got to
good
think
movies.
of, yeah, I was thinking seeing that new Indiana Jones movie coming out and Michael Keaton being back as Batman really like takes us back to the 80s, doesn't it?
Yeah, it
Yeah.
does. It does, and that is a good segue into the other show here. By the way, the guy's Flash comes out on June 16th. It's going to be a very busy summer at the box office. So yeah, another look at Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. They had a 1 minute spot that I think might have been less than that aired during the Super Bowl, and then there was another full look like that was released online. Again, I think it's just playing, rightfully so, playing on like nostalgia for that franchise. And
Yep.
who doesn't love hearing that John Williams Indiana Jones theme music? I will say at our this is so bad at our Super Bowl party, someone was like, "I could have sworn Harrison Ford was dead already." I was like, "Guys, he's not dead."
Oh my god,
not dead. And then like
maybe one from the grave, but not dead.
Our buddy Andrew's like, he's like, okay, I saw that guy in like 2019, like in person, and I thought he was at death's door. I was like, maybe just having a bad day. And he was like, he's like surprised that he was even like equipped and well enough to play Indiana Jones again.
Well, what is he, like 80?
I think older than that.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
I love Harrison Ford. I will cry when I hear the news that he's passed, whenever it is. Yeah, I mean, fuck, man.
It's such a part of like, I mean, huge part of like just pop culture entertainment. Like, I mean, Indiana Jones. I mean, he plays two of the coolest characters in like film history. He gets to play Han Solo
exactly.
And Indiana Jones. He's 80. All right, you're right on this. 80
years
old.
Okay. 80.
You know, he probably one of our best movie presidents, Air Force One.
Yeah, that's right. President in Another Life.
I know, right? He has that.
He's such a cool guy.
Hear that word, yeah. But no, this looks good. I mean, like I said, anything that wipes the bad taste of Kingdom of the Crystal Skull out of my mouth, then cool. You know what? I thought, I thought critics didn't like that movie as much, but I had to write a story about it for CBR, and I looked it up. It had like a 77% on Rotten Tomatoes. It's fresh.
The audience score, indie movie?
Indiana Jones, yeah. The audience score is 56%, so you can tell that fans didn't love it as much, and it still made a lot of money. Like, I mean, I guess
no doubt.
I mean, it's also
backed off the first three.
Yeah, it's also Spielberg. I mean, like I said, it's hard for me to be mad at him, but I was like, did you even try? I feel like you didn't really try, and you had so many good people. Like Cate Blanchett's there. Like, how do you like waste Cate Blanchett? I don't know.
Exactly.
It just wasn't good. And then like Shia LaBeouf, I mean, you could tell they were trying to set him up to be maybe like the replacement, like, you know, as his young son. That didn't really work out because Shia LaBeouf's career took a turn.
Right. And I'm glad they took a hiatus after that one. Like, clearly it wasn't received enough for them to pursue another one right after, like putting Shia in that role.
Yeah.
I'm thinking the series probably better off for that. And for a similar reason is why I'm a little trepidatious going into this movie, because I'm a recent indie fan. We'll say, like, I've always appreciated the character in pop culture, but I've only ever seen the movies back to back once, and it was fairly recently, like over the pandemic. Okay. Love them, have nothing but good things to say about them. I haven't seen the fourth because I've just been kind of put off by it. But back to my point is I'm a little worried that little cautious of like Phoebe Waller character and maybe like the script, and this could all be unwarranted if it doesn't go this way, but if they're kind of setting up her as being like Indy's like savior, or like kind of taking the mantle from him going forward, I will not be like happy with that. I hope they just give him the ending he deserves, where it's definitive and they keep his character intact. That's what I'm most worried about going into this movie. But
I can
the cast is phenomenal. It looks great.
Yeah, the cast is.
You see what I'm saying? Like, do you think that's fear?
Yeah, especially worried about what they might try to do, because I don't know if you heard, like, it was like months ago, they announced that they're working on an Indiana Jones show for Disney Plus, and they didn't say if it's like a prequel or a direct sequel to this movie. So it's like, of course, Harrison Ford's not doing it. He's already said that this is his last like hurrah as this character.
It's a time worries.
Yeah, so like I kind of can, maybe they might be setting up like less passing of the torch, which is like kind of like what these like. Can we call this a legacy sequel? I mean, I guess it's not like,
I think it fits the definition.
Yeah. So like, I see that's what they're all doing. Whether it's like, I guess Top Gun Maverick didn't really do that, but I guess it kind of did with setting up all these like newer characters that like you could follow if they want to make another one.
Yeah,
right.
But they didn't disrespect Tom Cruise's character, I don't think, in any way. Even though there's like some nods at him being out of touch with stuff, he's still very much the lead. He's in command. He gets the spotlight to shine at the end. Like
Right.
it really is his movie. And there's been other properties, like for instance, the new James Bond, where I don't feel like they do service to their legacy character. And that's
Yeah.
another one that Phoebe Waller-Bridge is in,
Yeah.
which is
Yeah.
into why I'm worried about her. I do not see them
Like
doing
her presence alone
she
makes you.
so she co-wrote that one, so that
Yeah.
might be why that movie did what it did. I just looked, she doesn't have a writing credit
Yeah.
on Isle of Destiny, but it has 5 different writers, which I'm also kind of like,
That's
oh,
that's always their wrecking. Like where you're like, it took
exactly.
it took 5 of you to come up with like
Why
the.
is it taking so many of you to
That's
write
great.
this movie?
Yeah.
So I'm
I,
completely
I have faith,
optimistic about
I
it.
have faith in James Mangold though, so he's directing it.
Exactly. That's
I
what it comes
know
down to.
this is the first film in the series not directed by Steven Spielberg. He was going to direct it, and he passed that on to James Mangold. He is on as a producer. I wonder if he stepped down because maybe he just wanted to work. I guess at this point it would have been, I guess, the Fablemans. Maybe he wanted
On
to do that
Fablemans?
instead.
That's what I
Yeah,
was thinking, yeah.
and then like
Uh,
so, Steven Spielberg is no spring chicken either, and he's been like cranking out movies left and right. I mean,
Guy's
like
working.
yeah. So like, I mean, it's cool that he made, take a step back and like trust it, like James Mangold.
I think you're totally right on that because anticipation of watching Fablemans, I read a piece about Steven asking himself like if he were to put out one more movie that he really felt he wanted to tell, which one would it be? And then he decided to do Fablemans, and I'm sure he didn't feel like he really needed to do a 5th indie movie. But I do
Yeah,
think that he gave it to one of the best possible directors to pass that property on to. Like James Mangold is a phenomenal filmmaker, so I'm
yeah,
glad
I
to see
agree.
him doing this one.
I agree. And like, I mean, of course, probably we'll both end up. This might be a fun. I mean, I know you just recently watched these, but this might be a fun one to revisit when this one comes out closer to June. Like
I'll
franchise as
probably
a
get
whole.
them. Yeah, I think I'll get all 4 of them in anticipation of the 5th, and so I'll be able to have an opinion on the 4th one. We can probably chat that up
Yeah,
when I get a chance to see that one.
just
But
be-
I'm excited to see the first 3 again.
yeah, for sure. Guys, if you guys want to see Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny, it comes out on my little brother's birthday on June 30th.
Oh,
And
that's my mom's birthday.
whoa, shit.
Yeah,
Like,
crazy.
see, we're learning about each other like live on there.
That's right. Yeah.
And also, guys, I'm sure they really want you to support this movie because it has a $300 million budget. So, like, everyone,
Oh my!
they
Probably those
they
de aging effects.
do the break even on this. I mean, I'm sure it'll be like a worldwide hit because, like, let me see what did the last one do? Because it still made a decent amount of money. It wasn't like, let me pull it up right now because I think it still cleared like $700 million worldwide.
I did not know that the budget was that inflated. Did it have to do
Yeah,
with anything with like delays or reshoots or anything, or
I mean, the COVID stuff too. I think
COVID
so they were,
stuff couldn't have
yeah,
helped?
that didn't help at all. So yeah, the budget on Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, $185 million. It ended up making $790 million worldwide. So even though like it's
Oh my
not,
God! Wow.
even though it's not highly regarded, still made money.
People showed up. Yeah.
People showed up, but yes, I'm sure they really want you to show up for this one because $300 million budget is insane. Like, keep in mind, I think the 4th one made like a little over 330 something million here domestically. When it follows that same trajectory, like it's gonna really need like overseas help to like break
Yeah.
even.
I'm sure it will though.
I'm sure. I'm sure it will be just fine. But yeah, I was surprised because they revealed the budget the other day, and I was like, Jesus Christ! Like,
Actually, yeah, that's China. China's market will be an interesting component to that. If it even like
yeah,
can't really see
if
a
they're
reason
really
why it
there.
wouldn't open there, but there's been movies that didn't open in China that maybe not would have guessed wouldn't have opened there. So that could be a potential. Could be a curveball.
Yeah, for
Hopefully, it
sure.
opens there.
So also another just to show how maybe how much faith they have in this movie. The Universal spent $7 million for an ad for Cocaine Bear, so like that makes me excited.
That's right.
For them that they're like, hey, like we think we have something here. Let's just spend $7 million on this.
I did
It-
see that TV
Yeah.
spot too. Now mentioned it, that was one I forgot about, but I did see that one, and I gotta say, like I've been pretty on board with the marketing for that movie so far. I love that they're embracing the
Yeah.
comedy of it, and that it's not being taken seriously because it's not a serious movie.
Yeah. So I mean, I'm sure everyone already knows what it is, but I just like to like read the description of it so you can
Totally.
all like kind of like go on this journey with us because I think we're all
Give it
really
to
excited
us.
see it. Guys, it is inspired by the true story of the Cocaine Bear, an American black bear that ingested a duffel bag full of cocaine in 1985. So this movie is very loosely based on that story. Now, I did like Owen was talking about this during the party that like I guess after the bear did ingest the cocaine for like however many minutes before it, died or whatever, it could have been the most like dangerous bear like ever. So I think they're kind of like
Probably
so I think they're
predator in general.
so predator in general, right? So I think they're taking that general idea of like what could have happened in that 5 minutes or whatever, and just and with that.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea for a movie, honestly, to find something like that and be like, what if make something creative out of that? I think that's cool.
I think it's cool too. I mean, Elizabeth Banks is directing this. I know she's been like hit or miss directing wise, depending on. I mean, Pitch Perfect 2, that's fine. It goes down like a good warm, like a good cold soda. Like all the Pitch Perfect movies, okay. all the Pitch Perfect movies are like easy.
I've only seen the first, so no opinion.
Then she did that Charlie's Angels, and the one with Kristen Stewart, and I didn't hate it, but like I just see, you just gave like a big thumbs down. I didn't totally hate it. I can understand why it didn't work.
Right.
I feel like Elizabeth Banks. I mean, she's a good dramatic actress too, but she does lean more into like doing comedy and stuff. And I think I think she gets it. So like, I think that's why she kind of like. I wouldn't be surprised if she had a hand in like, this is how we should market it. This is like I think we should do with it. And I love that you talk about movies that lean into what they are. This one clearly is.
And I appreciate that a lot.
And we're all the better for it. Also, guys, in case you were wondering, Elizabeth Banks says she's also interested in doing a follow-up to Cocaine Bear called Cocaine Shark. So Cocaine Shark, I guess on Wednesday, Cocaine Shark, or last Wednesday, became a trending topic on social media after New Zealand officials reported the discovery of more than 3 tons of cocaine floating in the Pacific Ocean. To be clear, it doesn't seem like a cocaine shark actually exists, but the idea was enough to get fans making the comparison to Cocaine Bear, and she said she'd be down if there's a story to tell about it.
Okay, interesting. Because I heard that article, and when you said cocaine shark, I thought, what the hell? There's no way that's happening in the water too. But that's kind of funny. Maybe we'll see how Cocaine Bear goes.
So like, oh man, this could like be Universal's like in Fast and the Furious is ending soon, so they could have this whole like franchise
cocaine universe,
cocaine universe, cocaine dog, cocaine cat. Like you can do like a whole thing with it, and I'm sure people will go to see it.
Hey, Al Pacino's alive to maybe reprise his role as Tony Montana in that universe.
I know, right? They're all connected. So, guys, if you guys are interested in Cocaine Shark or Bear, sorry, mixing up the animals. If you're interested in Cocaine Bear, it comes out on February 24th. If I don't get a press screening for it, I will be there on opening day.
100%. We'll be there for Ray Liotta's last movie performance. That's when I'm most putting my ass in the seat.
Our buddy Frank was like, "Is it kind of sad that this is his last movie?" I'm like, "But if it's good, then like whatever."
What was he? Because was he not on the set of a movie? Like he died in his sleep?
Yeah, he something. I forgot. Wait, he wasn't filming this, but like he was filming something, and I don't know what's going on with that.
I haven't heard anything about it.
Yeah, I don't know how far along he was into filming. So yeah, I don't know.
All right.
But, R.I.P. I look forward to seeing that as well.
Yeah, can't wait to chat that. That'll be a good review.
I feel like that's gonna be like a really funny episode because I probably can't take any of that seriously. So just roll with it. We also came out for the Super Bowl, but we actually mentioned this on another episode. Paramount Pictures paid $7 million to promote Scream 6. They gave it a big game spot. It looks good. I mean, like it just looks darker and like it looks like. Of course, I think the meta stuff will be there where they kind of like poke fun at like horror movies, but it seems like it's more driven by like it has like a whole like middle chapter vibe to me where like there's more at stake and there's more like I feel like anybody's safe in it.
Yeah, I think it would pay dividends for them to actually just completely out of left field and like kill off a character that you'd think you'd see around longer, like maybe Jenna Ortega or her sister's character.
I know. So like, everyone's speculating like, if you thought like Star Wars fans or Marvel fans are kind of crazy, Scream fans are like obsessed. So they like dissect every little moment from like a 30-second trailer. And there is like a moment where it looks like Sam, Melissa Barrera, is like holding on to Jenna Ortega and she's about to fall, and they're like,
Yeah,
oh, like,
I remember that.
and like for some people are like, oh, there's something like sinister in her eyes, like maybe she's one of the killed. Everyone's like speculating like crazy, right? But then
Yeah,
there's another shot in the trailer where it looks like Sam kind of takes a really bad fall, like doesn't look like it did well. And then of course
right.
there's this scene that they keep showing in the trailers that looks good in the trailer. It'll probably be really good in the movie, where they put this like ladder up to like kind of crawl across to like another building, and
Yes.
like just about anyone on that could like probably die.
One's falling to their death in that scene, and I can't wait for it.
It looks like a really good tense like scene. I also think, and like I love this franchise since the first one came out. I don't like seeing legacy characters go, but I kind of think Courtney Cox, Gail Weathers. It's just my speculation. I think she's getting. I think she is too. And my only
She has
speculation,
to.
I think how they could. I'm hoping that behind the scenes they've already talked to like Nev Campbell about like, hey, like you might be in this next one a lot more. Let's give you the money you asked for. That'd be a good way to set her, I mean, back, because I know they talked about wanting to make this a trilogy, like this, like like ending
Okay.
it with three of them, and with three of them. That'd be a good way to bring her back into it, because like at this point, her and Gail are friends. They didn't start that way, of course,
Right.
but they are friends now, and especially because they had the connection with Dewey, who died in the last one. I think it'd be a good way to bring her back if that's kind of like a plan.
To
Do
like
that.
avenge Gale. I think that'd
Yeah,
be cool. If they're gonna
because
do it, that's
and I
how they
do,
should do it.
yeah, and I do like what Kevin Williamson said about because he, of course, he's super close with Nev Campbell and like wanted her to come back, but he said like, I guess the benefit of not having her there is that they were able to like flesh out these like new characters that got introduced in this last
Okay.
movie, and maybe like you felt like you didn't really get to know them as much as you probably should have, and now they're going to be fully developed more in this. If they kill Jenna Ortega, I don't think she's safe either. Like, I thought maybe she might be safe because, like, while they were filming this, they're watching her blow up. So, like,
Yeah, that's right.
I mean, if I was a screenwriter and I killed her off, I would do like a quick rewrite. It's like, no, good.
Yeah, I'm sure studio exec would probably be like, "Yeah, you're gonna have to do some rewrites here. You're not killing
like,
Ortega." But
like, you see how many people are watching Wednesday? Like, are you serious? Like, yeah, like keep her around. But I don't know. It just looks fun. I'm glad that they're not like. There's been like, I think I posted 5 TV spots on G Reels that they released for that movie, and
Yep.
they all don't give away a lot. Like they're all just really good
That's
at
right.
just kind of like selling the tension, and like I still love that it's in New York. I love that. I mean, no, they didn't shoot it there, but like I love that
I think
vibe.
the location change is a good aspect of that movie for sure.
Yeah,
Needed.
yeah, much needed. I know. I mean, I need to rewatch. I know we talked about this before. I need to rewatch the 5th one again, just like removed from my like. But now I won't be removed from my hype because I'm gonna be hyped for number 6. So I might.
Yeah,
I might.
exactly. Maybe watch a recap video or something. I feel like I watch it close enough that I won't have to see it again before going into 6.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, to whatever you think is the best
Like,
idea.
like,
Going into 6 is the best feeling.
what was your feeling about it again when you watched it like recently?
I didn't love it. I would say I'd go so far that I didn't like a lot of it. There were some
This is
like
this sounds
say
much harsher this sounds much harsher than like the last time you brought it up.
I was shaking my head a few times, and I like the Scream series. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
I think like I have to just like be kind to it in like a second viewing whenever that comes around. But going into it, was watching it unbiasedly. There was just things in it I didn't love. It was honestly a lot of it came down to like the acting performances, but I'll have different ones going forward. I'll keep that in mind. I'm gonna go in. I remember we were chatting about it. You said that your experience with it, you were like so hyped seeing it in theaters. I didn't have that experience.
Yeah, right.
So I feel like that will lend to my appreciation of seeing 6 in theaters too. So I'm expecting to like it a little bit more than 5, but we'll see.
Yeah, it's funny too. Like I remember when I saw Scream 4, I had that same because it been a while since they had made one, and I think I watched that movie originally with like fucking rose-colored lenses, like, oh, this is so good. And then like when I saw it, like when it came out on Blu-ray, and I was like, maybe okay, there are some definite flaws, I guess, that I wasn't paying attention to.
I hate that feeling.
It was like you telling everyone when you walked out of the theater, like, oh, it was so good, and then you watch it later and you're like, realize. Okay. But it's interesting about Scream 4, though. I think time has benefited that movie because like the whole angle in Scream 4 about like they really played on the whole like internet personality, like pop culture, like that being like your way to get fame. Like you have to have something bad happen to you and film it in order to become famous. Like
That's a good point.
that stuff kind of rings a little more true years later. Like yeah, so like maybe it was
I
just
gotta
before its
rewatch
time.
that.
It's before its time, and like I actually am one of the few people that like mine Emma Roberts as one of the killers. That was fine. That was cool. I mean, when you can have like a horror movie and like one of the killers turns out to be like a girl, I think that so many people don't expect it, ends up working pretty well. Now, there are some people Scream 5 because one of the killers was a girl and the one that killed Dewey was the girl. And there is a definite height fluctuation between like the ghost face that killed Dewey and like the actual girl.
Her. Okay, I didn't notice that.
Yeah,
How do you know that that's the girl? How do you know that that was the
there's
character that killed?
there's a line that she says to Gail when she's trying to kill her that she mentions like what Dewey saw like before he died, and like so you know that she's the one that did it. And
I see.
And remember, that was one of the things that on like people seeing it later, and they would like come to me like, "You said this movie was good, but like what I don't understand," and that's one of the and, like whatever for it. And of course, and also giving an excuse to like bringing in the legacy characters, like that's another thing some of my friends have issues with. Like why would Sydney like she's married and she has a kid? Like why would she go like to Woodsboro to go help? But I guess Dewey, but also killing Dewey was like the reason to get her to go.
Yeah,
like, it's personal, and like she went to go. And plus, we love Nev Campbell. Wait, whatever.
Like I was happy to see her there for sure. I'll miss her in this one, that's for sure.
I think she's like everyone's favorite final girl. So
exactly. But the more you bring your legacy characters around, the more you almost kind of have to kill them off if you want your movie to be taken seriously. If you don't want all these people, want the Walking Dead effect that everyone's safe all the time until that happened. But that's why I feel like they're almost like playing with fire. The more you bring around your legacy characters, which is why I think Gail has to die in this one
because it does stretch the realm of pot. Like it's like, all right, well, how many times? How can they survive? How many times can Sydney survive? Is she just over this shit? Like, why does she want to go back and help? Like,
exactly.
She doesn't really. I mean, how long does she know Sam and Tara for like a few hours? Like,
right. Yeah. Fuck those girls.
Yeah. I mean, I guess like movie logic is like, oh, but she went through like what they are going through currently, like when she was a teenager. Like, okay, I get it.
That's a good point too. Actually, wow. Look at you.
Yeah, I'm trying. And you guys, even though I like may feel differently about Scream 5 when I watch it again. As Scream 6 is closer to coming out, I am genuinely excited for this one. I think if anything, Scream 5 did a good job of like getting people back into the franchise and getting back into like what these movies are. It was a good like audience for it wasn't just hardcore Scream fans. There were people that were just discovering it and like and I mean like the meta stuff is so of its time when those movies were big. There was a big gamble whether or not it would work in 2022, and it did. And like people really enjoyed it. And it looks like and I think when you have a successful movie, you feel a little bit more confident about going balls to the wall with the next one. And I think that's why I feel like nobody is really safe in this. I think they're just like, we gotta like kind of really toy with like audience expectations. And
it would be better for it if they did, I think.
Why homegirls Melissa Barrera, Jenna Ortega, I don't think you're necessarily safe, even though you're the leads. But
no, I agree.
But we'll find out on March 10th when Scream 6 opens.
Damn, right around the corner.
Right around the corner. I guess another big trailer that we got too, Into the Galaxy Vol.3. More Marvel. More Marvel. More Marvel. I don't know if you're sick of it yet. But
I like the first trailer for Guardians. I just watched this one before we started recording, and I can't remember a whole lot happened in it. Looks like they're you talk about it for a sec.
Well, I think what's the difference between this one and like the first trailer that they released? They are kind of leaning into like the stuff we loved about the first two, like a little of the banter and comedy that's kind of in there. But it is pretty clear. Like we just talked about Scream raising the stakes. Somebody is gonna bite it, maybe more than one person, and that everyone is still speculating that it's Rocket, which has a lot of people like already crying on Twitter. Like, please don't call Rocket.
I think it's Rocket.
I kind of think Drax could kind of fall in that too, because Dave Bautista kind of talked about like the finality of like doing this one. Like it really felt like an ending, and like he definitely doesn't want to come back and do anything. Yeah, and not that he's unappreciative of the
Right.
opportunity
It's time.
experience. But it's
For
time.
something
And
else.
like we talked about this before, like he seems like he wants to like spread his wings and do a bunch of different stuff. So like, uh, he's
I
just ready to
support
be.
that.
I support that,
I'm
but I
glad you
can.
bring up.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
don't think he's safe either. So like, that's another one.
I'm glad you brought up Drax because if you didn't, I was going to because I feel like and it would be pretty bold to take out two major characters from that series instead of just one because one feels almost like you're owed one, especially after three, for everyone to
Right.
still be there. And you brought back with Aldana from
Right.
death. So you really
Yeah.
got to toy with somebody here. And why not go two?
Yeah.
Drax back. So
Yeah, you know
it
what?
makes
And
sense.
I actually kind of okay with how they brought her back because it's like, yeah, that actually made more sense than like bringing back most people who
R-
die.
Remind me again. Is it, do they,
So,
is it,
so in Infinity War,
she's
because
strong?
yeah, because like
Yeah.
you have to
She's great
sacrifice
in
some,
Infinity War.
you have to like sacrifice someone you love in order to get
I'm
like that,
sorry,
and
little one.
that's when you realize that Thanos, which is why he's such a complicated villain, that he actually has love for his daughter, and you
But
realize
he'll
in that
stop at
moment,
nothing.
I don't think you get it. But you
I
have
love
to,
him.
I guess, when they go back in game time, and we have met more that game has not met any of the Guardians yet. She's with her sister Nebula. She's with Thanos still. Uh,
Right.
so like that's how they're able to like bring her back. And of course, like Chris Pratt, Star-Lord doesn't know that when he sees her again. He's just surprised that she's alive, and then she
Right.
kicks him in the crotch because she doesn't know who he is. That's
Never
probably
know.
going to be that's going to be another big, I think, kind of emotional kind of arc in this too, like dealing with like her not really remembering any of them, and especially like for them as like a couple, I guess. So I'm happy that there'll be some like emotional stakes in this one too, like especially since like this is gonna be the last Guardians movie, and who knows, we might see these other characters pop up in like Avenger movies and stuff like that. But like
Right.
this is the last one as we kind of know it.
As we know them. Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, like
M-
I all the Marvel franchises, the standalone ones, I think that these have been some of the better ones though so far.
I
Like the
agree. And
first two
who
are
would have
very
thought?
good. Yeah, I knew nothing about them. I knew
They were so
nothing.
obscure, which is what James Gunn is great at working
Yeah,
with comic book movies. He can really just pull on those obscure, lesser known characters. So he turned a little ragtag group of Guardians into some of the most successful
yeah.
Avengers teams out there. So good for him for doing that. I was hoping you could answer this for me. I just thinking about it now. I don't think I have a real sense of what the threat that they're facing in the third one is. Is Adam Warlock? Is he a bad guy? Is he a good guy?
He's a bad guy. So
He's
yeah,
a bad guy.
he's a threat, and Warlock is good.
Polster.
Yeah. He Will Poulter, who like bulked up considerably to play this part.
Yeah, he did. Dude's
There were
been
people who
yoked.
there were people who were reluctant about his casting until they saw like how jacked he got for the role.
Classic. Yeah,
So
I think he looks
like,
good in the role.
good for him. Yeah, he's gonna be the threat in this one, a pretty big one.
Okay.
So yeah, it's gonna be good. And like we were talking about what kicks off the summer movie season, I think it's this movie. It opens on May 5th. So I
Oh yeah, look at that.
yeah. So
Is that right ahead
Cinco,
of
Cinco de Mayo,
Oh,
guys.
Second of Mile? Is that right ahead of Fast and Furious? Which one's
Yeah, 19th for Fast 10.
May?
And then,
Oh, May 19th.
yeah. So yeah,
Okay.
It's gonna be very crowded again, like we said.
Yeah. We'll be
Time of the
competing for a
box
few
office.
weeks, actually. Interesting.
Yeah, was there any? There were. I'm trying to think of other spots that dropped. There was a spot for that we don't have to give like a ton of time to, unless you want. Like Creed 3 had a spot. Uh, Actually,
Right.
looks really good, and like the early press screenings for the reaction to that have been very positive, like
I
extremely
gotta.
positive.
Yeah, I'm glad you used that as a segue because when you're talking about Will Poulter getting jacked, instantly in my mind, I remember thinking to the video I watched before we started filming, and it was of Creed 3, the spot from Super Bowl. And
Yeah,
man, Jonathan Majors looks absolutely insanely
yeah,
large. Like he's massive, dude.
yeah,
Intimidating, dude. Looks good in it.
crazy. Talk about someone having a moment, because that's gonna open like not too far after Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, which like I mean, just due to like the COVID delays and stuff, like the timing for him has worked out so well because he had like
Yeah.
he had Devotion come out in like November. I think he had something that dance that kind of premiered too. His Ant-Man
Okay.
and then Creed 3 all back to back. And so like
Yeah.
good for him. I mean, truly having a moment. And like yeah, and from what I've heard, Creed 3 is very good from people who've seen it already. And said that
And
Michael B. Jordan directs the hell out of it too. It's like
and
his
his
first movie.
debut, is that right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
first movie he's ever directed. Uh, so good on that. I mean, like it was a pretty short spot, but it looks good. I mean, like at first I wasn't like first I was like reluctant about this one because I was like,
Yep, me too.
because Creed is good. I thought they got really lucky with Creed 2 because I was like, that's nearly like I wasn't expecting a sequel to Creed. So like the fact that they
No.
made one, and I was like, all right, it worked because they actually Creed 2 is a total like fan service sequel too. You bring back Ivan Drago, and then
Yeah.
you throw in his son, and there's that whole like beef with that. Like there's like I mean, if you were a fan of those movies, like everyone was like, oh, I gotta see this. So I get it, it works. Uh, when I
Legacy baby.
first saw the trailer for this one, it seems so far removed from like the Rocky stuff now, and I think I thought that was gonna be a detriment, but I think that might actually help that it's kind of becoming its own thing, and especially
I
because
think so too.
Michael B. Jordan said there's a strong possibility that they'll make another one. So I guess it
Oh,
has to become its own thing away from Sylvester Stallone, and I know he feels some kind of way about that because there's a lot of issues with like the Rocky rights and characters and
okay.
a whole story for another episode. But yeah, it's like a really
Totally.
big thing that he's like kind of involved in, and I know Sylvester Stallone feels it was a wrong choice to move away from the Rocky stuff for this third movie, but he's not a part of it, and they have to keep it going.
Is he on board in any capacity for Creed 3?
No, not at all.
Oh,
He, like, yeah, and it's interesting because Creed kind of was a resurgence for him. He got nominated for an Oscar for it. Like, I mean, like, you know, uh, but at the end of the day, Creed movies they're Michael B. Jordan's movies at this point. Like, it's like
yeah.
it's his he's the lead, and deservedly so. I mean, I'm hoping it's as good as it looks and as good as I'm hearing. Uh,
Yes.
so I
Again, time will tell, but I have good feelings going in, especially like we're seeing this movie on paper like a few months ago and being like,
yeah,
I don't really know how interested I am in this. The
like I'm not
footage has been
interested.
enough.
Yeah,
Exactly. But the footage has been enough to kind of sway me a little bit.
it's gotten better.
Yeah.
I think when it looks at it. So, and there was also this movie will be out on March 3rd, so that's coming up real soon. We also had a trailer for Dungeons and Dragons.
Mhm.
I don't think it looks good.
Nah, I'll be missing that one.
By the way, that spot was early at the game. So I mean, I
Cheap
guess you
spot.
could tell where his placement was.
Yeah.
I like the cast too, like Michelle Rodriguez, Chris Pine. Like I like the cast. I just
Like,
don't.
do something else though. Why are you putting your effort into that? Oh,
It's
that's what I can't get around.
yeah, not into it.
Not me either, really.
Yeah, I can't think of anything else that had a spot. I think we got most of them. Unless
Everything
you
probably worth chatting
were
about.
chatting
Yeah, we
about, yeah.
crossed off everything on my list anyway.
Yeah. And sorry if you are fans of Dungeons and Dragons.
Oh yeah,
I'm sure
I'm
you'll be seeing
biased. I'm
I'll see it, but like it just doesn't look good.
Yeah, I've never been into the property, never even like
Yeah.
seen a Dungeons and Dragons board before, so like I just couldn't really care less. So that don't just take my opinion with a grain of salt. I don't
Yeah.
any investment into this movie, so
Yeah.
just not up my
I
alley.
agree. All right, so we have one more kind of news item before we talk about the box office and how wrong we were again.
Right.
I didn't spend too much time on this. I just thought the way that Disney announced it was kind of in poor taste. We are getting a Toy Story 5, Zootopia 2, and Frozen 3, but they announced it in the midst of saying they laid off like 7,000 employees. So it was just like
That's
it
right.
just didn't land. That news kind of land with a thud. I was like, well, who cares? Let's announce sequels to your multi-billion-dollar franchises, and you just laid off 7,000 people. Like, okay,
7,000, which was how much?
to cut costs. I mean, so
What
I guess
percent of the workforce
I
is
forgot the
that?
actual number. I forgot the actual
Me too.
number.
I had it at one point.
Yeah,
Significant though.
yeah, and I was just like, I guess they were like, so they have $5 billion that they were trying to cut, and some of that was
Yeah.
like with content, and then it was $3 billion for like non-content, which is the layoffs and all that stuff. But it just doesn't look right when you announce sequels to like some of your biggest movies. Here's how I feel about Toy Story 5. Toy Story 3 was the perfect ending to that franchise.
Yeah.
Toy Story 4, much like Creed 2, you got very lucky and it was good. And
Right, but it could have been
ended
shit.
well. And then
Yeah.
now I feel like you're just playing with fire because I don't like it. It did perfectly twice. So like I don't need another one.
Well, leave it to Disney to literally wring out every last dollar from an IP. Like
Yeah.
that's why like they do it so shamelessly. Like Disney's just done such a 180, I think, over a 10 to 15 year span. Like I'm not surprised to hear any of this. Like I would be surprised if they didn't release a sequel to a popular franchise, honestly.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I'm not surprised to hear it. I honestly didn't hear you brought it up to me though, so missed that release.
So, because it was mixed in during their earnings call. Like, so like trades picked it up. it was in their earnings call while they're talking about all their cost cutting, and they're like, "Oh, but we are excited to like announce sequels to this." And I was like, That's you could have done that like a week later. Like I don't know. They had to get like investors excited. It helps with stock. It helps with stocks. I get it.
Exactly. It's a political thing. It makes
Yeah.
total sense. Sucks for those people that were let go and the animators and like that are still employed that know they're gonna have to be working extra hard on these next movies.
And then Disney had the audacity to have an ad during the Super Bowl that was basically just a highlight of like all their classic movies. So they spent $7 million on like an ad. That was the whole thing we talked about. We were like, yeah, you paid that much money for an ad and you just laid off 7,000 people.
Which, yeah, that's $7 million that they have just in their pocket at any given time. It's crazy how much money they're saving though by laying off 7,000 people. That is crazy. And they probably don't need all those people working for them. So I'm sure it is an effective move. Again, yeah, like you said, one in poor taste sucks to be on that end of the stick, but I'm sure it will only help them.
Yeah, and the only one I'm excited about is Zootopia 2 because I actually like Zootopia a lot.
Yeah, I haven't seen that one yet.
I could care less about another Frozen. That's when I could tell that like I kind of aged out on certain types of Disney movies because that first one is like a movement for a lot of kids. Like they love Frozen,
dude.
And I just wasn't in on the movement. I was like, I just didn't understand why it made so much money and why people love it so much. But I'm also not a child.
It was. Yeah, it was really embraced by its target audience without a doubt. That leans more into the little girls and stuff and little kids in general. But you're not alone there. Like, I don't even know that I've seen Frozen all the way through. Maybe at I don't even know where I would even come across it for the first time. But yeah, no, I'm not sold on it either. Don't give a shit about Frozen 3. Not surprised Disney's doing it though, because the first two were pretty successful for them. So we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, someone brought up a point. I forgot who it was. One of my friends was like, dude, that second Frozen movie made over $1 billion, but I've never heard anyone talk about it. Like, I've never heard anyone go. God. I've never heard anyone go like, "Hey, like remember that one part in Frozen 2?" Like, no,
like, not at all.
Ever.
The sneakiest $1 billion movie ever.
Movie ever. Yeah. So, good on you, Disney. Good on you. Well, all right, guys. So this is the point of the show where we talk about predicting the box office. We'd like to remind you. I'd like to remind you that we were predicting the box office for Magic Mike's Last Dance. And some of you did respond with some of your predictions. I'm glad that some of you guys were also way off. But I will remind you that I said, because I thought the ladies would rush out for this, and some men too. I thought it was going to open to $20 million. Jackson, you came in a little below me at $17 million.
But close to you.
Close to me at $17 million. And we were both tragically wrong. It did open at number 1, so that's all miracles there. Open at number 1, $8.2 million on its opening weekend. Now, here's some things I didn't know. It was only booked in a little over 1,500 theaters, so Warner Brothers didn't really go like incredibly wide with it. And then I didn't know that either. It was also originally going to be an HBO Max release. They changed it to theatrical after positive test screenings. But that increased the budget to $40 million. So like when they are producing it as a streaming movie, the budget was smaller because they're actually, working it as like something that's going straight to their streaming service. When it becomes a theatrical movie, the budget goes up. Actors get paid more. Everyone gets paid a little bit more. So it ballooned.
You just take the cut. Yeah.
So it ballooned up to like $40 million cost. This is the lowest opening, or it's so weird to call it a franchise, for the Magic Mike franchise.
Yeah, that you say that.
The first one opened to like 39 million, and then we said the second one opened over a long 4th of July weekend, but like the 3-day was like 12.8 million. It's still a lucrative franchise in the end. I think like even once it hits streaming and stuff, like they'll probably be fine, and like Warner Brothers won't care too much about it. I mean, but we were very wrong.
Yeah, all is not lost on this one yet, though. You brought up a good point right before we record. Still got Valentine's Day week for audiences to go see this. We off the Super Bowl, where we know audiences weren't as likely to hit the theaters while the Super Bowl was running. So I'm sure we will see. I wouldn't even bother spitting out a number, but we would definitely see some of that theater money made up this week, and maybe even into the weekend. So the numbers will be interesting to see second week for sure.
Yeah, because I mentioned to Jackson that like they estimated that from Saturday to Sunday being when the game was on, that it dropped like 73% from Saturday to Sunday, which indicates how many
Massive.
people are just in front of their TVs and not at the movies on Super Bowl Sunday. And then I guess the overall weekend average for the entire box office chart was around like Saturday to Sunday was around 63%. Like it was like the average that most movies dropped. Super Bowl is a big deal. It's like an event. I mean, it's weird because it's not an event for anywhere else here. Because like we had
Right.
Owen had some friends over that you're from Brazil, and like they were like this. You guys are the America makes a big deal out of this. It's
Right.
not a big deal anywhere else. So like
No,
yeah,
no, no.
but
No, though, I was
yeah,
surprised to see there was a little footage I noticed during the Super Bowl showing like little pockets around the world of people that were watching it in bars and stuff. And there was like
oh yeah,
Germany, there's a
yeah,
little
I saw that
bar.
too.
People like I was like, damn, I never would have guessed that would even give a shit about American football anywhere
Yeah,
outside of America. But no,
I
and
wouldn't either.
obviously not to any degree that it would be over here. But other nations, I guess, have fans, which is
Yeah,
cool.
that's cool. Yeah, guys, let's see how some of you did. Well, I want to say that guys, the guys at Attack on Show, which is a podcast I listen to, like how much do you think it's gonna make on opening weekend? It just wrote, "What did you spend on the ticket? That's how much it's gonna make." So that's a funny answer. At Tony Lee underscore ultimate underscore gamer, 15 to 20 million. He was kind of like in our range.
Okay.
At Era 666, around 17 million. I'm thinking same as you.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. Right
At
on.
Drew Review 77, 24 million, so above me.
Sorry, Drew.
Sorry, our boy JC Merc with the movies, 12 to 15 million. But he also said, I feel people might wait for Tuesday because of Valentine's Day and the $5 discount Tuesdays, which a lot of movie theaters do. So there's
Yeah.
that as well. So
He's on it. He knows. JC knows. Actually, him and I are gonna have a chat here soon because I think this Tuesday, tomorrow, as of filming this,
I mean, yeah.
I'll be getting in Skinamarink. I think me and my buddy Cam, we're gonna check that out.
I need to
Saw
watch that
his.
too. Yeah,
Yeah, that'll be a good one
because
to watch. So we can
I've
chat
seen
about it.
yeah I've seen like so many like this is the scariest thing I've ever seen to like that was the dumbest thing I've ever watched. So
Which
like I
which JC gave it a 0 out of 5, and I
yeah
remember like commenting. I was like, man, like this makes me even more excited to watch it because I just want to have that conversation because I'm expecting
yeah
to like it, and I'm glad I know what I know going in so that I'm not like as disappointed. But I'm
yeah
keeping that in the back of my brain to chat about for sure.
for sure yeah. I mean, I need to get that in.
I'll let you know how it
Especially
is.
if you're gonna get it into like that'd be a fun one to kind of talk
Yeah,
about.
absolutely.
A friend David Park, 18 million, and I think he messaged me. It was like I was so wrong. Like we were all really wrong. I mean I guess maybe I overestimated like the female audience for it. Maybe there wasn't just like a hunger for a third one. Also Super Bowl Sunday, there was
Super
that.
Bowl. A
Like,
lot of factors for that one.
yeah, a lot of factors. It did lead your box office 8.2 million, followed by Avatar, still in the top five, $7.2 million. It has made $647.2 million here in the States and $2.2 billion worldwide. There, good for
Whoa.
you. And in case
Yeah.
James Cameron just didn't have enough movies in the top five, they re-released Titanic for his 25th anniversary. That made $6.7 million for third place. That's pretty good for a movie that's 25 years old, and people
And
have it at home. You can watch it at home.
not pass Avatar 2 again.
I think it
I think
did.
with the re-release, I think I
I think
saw that
so
it's
that's crazy.
stuck in a third
And
biggest movie. Crazy.
the only one that's happy right now is James Cameron.
Exactly. Yeah.
And then fourth place, 80 for Brady, made $5.8 million. It dropped 54%. I think it might stabilize though, like in the weeks ahead, because it is kind of like a choice for like the older demographic, and they are coming out and supporting it. And then
Okay.
rounding out the top five, sneakily making a lot of money. Puss in Boots: The Last Wish, $5.5 million, only dropped 29% this weekend. Has grossed $158.5 million here in the States, and is close to $400 million worldwide. This movie sneaky made money.
Yeah, big time.
I hadn't been paying attention to it, and it's just been chilling in the top five since it came out in December. So good for you, Puss in Boots.
Yeah.
So our next one for this, and I think we're gonna get better. We have a bigger movie opening this weekend, and it's a much more exciting one to kind of predict. We have Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, which is it's officially going to be like the biggest movie of the year so far. Kind of
So far, absolutely.
that's
What's the logistics on this? I'm going to need some help before I craft my opinion.
all right. So this kicks off first phase 5 for Marvel. I told you ahead of the show, it's tracking according to Deadline at $120 million for its opening weekend. For a little perspective, 2015's Ant-Man opened to 57.2 million. Ended up grossing
Whoa.
180.2 million at the domestic box office and $519 million worldwide. And then Ant-Man and the Wasp in 2018, I believe, improved on that opening. Opened to 75.8 million when it opened. Ended up grossing $216 million at the domestic box office and $622.6 million worldwide. I feel like the Ant-Man movies have always been like this. I love Paul Rudd, and I think he's great in this role.
Yeah,
can't find another way to describe it. I feel like it's like the runt of the MCU, where everyone's like, "Oh, I guess they're the fun ones," but like, don't take them that seriously, right?
right on the ball with that. I'd ask you again. What did you say? Ant-Man and the Wasp made 216 domestic or 260?
216 domestic by the end of its run.
216 domestic. Okay, that's pretty good.
And then 622 worldwide. But they've all made money. Like it's not like they haven't been hurting for money.
No.
And this one, like from the trailers and everything, it seems like there's more. Like we were saying earlier, it's more at stake. There's more like I feel like this movie is important to what will kind of happen down the line in this phase for Marvel.
Right.
So there has that. The buzz on this one is early buzz is mostly positive, but kind of mixed from what I've seen.
But kind of mixed from agreed. Which I was surprised. Like, I mean, not what they loved to be thinking about it right now, but I mean, at least it's generally positive.
The review embargo is not up yet, so we'll see how it does when it hits Rotten Tomatoes. I think it'll definitely be up before Friday. I think Marvel is not going to wait until the day to lift the embargo, because that's a sign that it's not good.
Yeah.
But there's all those factors in there, right? I definitely think of 3 movies, it will have the biggest opening weekend of the 3 that
I agree.
Like 120 is so low, but I also understand Marvel fatigue and like people being like burnt out.
That's going to be a huge factor in the number that I'm going to give out. It's something that I've experienced, something I know a lot of other people have experienced. We are now this is like you said, this is the movie that's opening the 5th phase. It's going to be the 31st Marvel movie or
somewhere.
Movie. I think as 120, as low as it seems for like that property, I don't think I'm going to go under 120. I don't know how far yet. I agree that it's going to be probably the bigger opening of the 3. I'm sitting right now like at a 105 million, just based on a lot of factors. And you know what? Could be wrong about that. I don't think it's going to hit 120. Even if it's above that 105, I won't be surprised. But I'm going to go at 105 opening.
All right. 105 from Jackson. I'm going to like go over tracking a little bit.
And, okay. That's not interesting.
And not too far, because I feel if I go too far, I'm like, that's not smart.
There's no stakes. Who cares?
Well, I'm trying to think like...
What do you think?
Because Wakanda Forever came out in November. That was the last one.
Yeah, I was wondering how it did.
I guess that's like a big... that's a decent enough gap between Marvel movies, I guess.
4 or 5 months?
I mean, Wakanda Forever, is going to have a different opening than this, because there was how they handled Chadwick Boseman. There's like all that. You're going to see that opening weekend.
Obviously, Panther's bigger than the first 2 Ant-Mans, of course, as well.
But perspective, Wakanda Forever opened to $181.3 million.
Oh, shit.
That's definitely not happening here.
Still, though. It's a lot of people going out for Marvel movie.
Fuck, I'm going to go with 125.
Okay. So we got a 20-minute gap. Yeah. I like close so far, so it'll be interesting to see how audiences reflect on our choice.
And guys, I feel like either one of us will be closer to what the movie actually opens to compared to like the last 2 weeks that we tried to do this. Or we'll get better at it. And I think we will with this one. I think this is actually a more fun one to predict, because it's like...
Yeah, I agree.
It's a big movie. So
I never even would on Magic Mike XXL or whatever before. I never would even cared what it did.
Yeah.
This is an interesting one to actually, throw a serious guest down. And I like that we got a little bit of a difference. It'll be fun to watch as it comes out.
So as always, people, when you listen to this episode, and of course on Twitter and Instagram, I'll throw it up to you guys so you guys can predict what you think this is going to open to, and then we will share your predictions on the episode where we reveal the box office results and see how close everyone got to guessing the opening. It'll be fun.
Throwing their answers with us. It's fun to see how everyone's paying attention and seeing where they think. Exactly.
sometimes it seems like people are thinking the same way that we're thinking about how to predict these. But yeah, like that'll be a really fun one to do, and like kind of exciting to have like our first big movie of the year kind of open, kind of set the
Yeah.
tone for like what summer's going to be like. You know, all these bigger movies, they come out earlier and earlier in the year now. It used to be like all these movies, these type of movies were like war for the summer, and now it's like
Summer
closer
more
and
spread
closer,
out.
spread out.
Yeah. I love watching trends in like live action. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like see how things change around Hollywood
I
in real time.
I
That's pretty
agree.
cool.
Uh, Before I wrap up this episode, I just want to point out we got 2 new reviews on Apple Podcasts forum,
Okay.
and Jackson, you got your first mention in one of them, so that's awesome. Uh,
Yes, I saw your shout out on Instagram to
yeah,
me. Thank you,
so yeah,
people.
so
Nice to be
thank you
mentioned.
so much. Said really fun show slash spinoff. Thank you for acknowledging both shows in your review. Dig both shows. Jackson and Gaius have great banter on the main show, and the deep dive spinoff keeps things interesting by educating listeners on different movies. Gaius and OM make a great team on that show, so you really get the best of both worlds from both shows. Highly recommended to film buffs. And then someone actually updated their review. Uh, they left a
Oh,
review like we like first started and gave us 5 stars again. Said rated the show when it first started, and even though it's has seen some changes, it's still an informative show for anyone that loves movies and pop culture. Everyone involved has great chemistry, and love that it has evolved into 2 separate shows. Keep up the good work. So thank you guys so much for your kind words, and also
that's awesome to hear.
yeah, and also congratulations to Jackson for getting his first mention in one of those views, because now it kind of feels like not just like not that you ever wore, but like now you're like feels like you're fully a part of it. Like you're like
Right
they're
on, and I feel that way. And
yeah,
I
like
owe a
they
lot of
know
thanks to you for
yeah
all the support you've given me and bringing me on the show. Like, I honestly, man, I don't know if I say it enough. I really have a blast doing this stuff and never would have probably had that opportunity otherwise. So, I look forward to when we record and are just
yeah
able to chat about my favorite thing, man. It's great to be here. And I love that people are liking the show, man. It's great. And
yeah it's
congrats
good.
to you for starting this from the ground up and really to reach such a wide audience. It's a really cool thing to be
Yeah,
able to say.
it's fun too because I was talking about it with Owen, because like we started it with him, and
Right.
like then of course like it's transitioned into what it is now. But I was telling him I was like, I feel like the main show, like I feel like with you, kind of found like the right person to do this with. So like the main show is a lot more fun to do, and it also makes me excited to like expand on the other one as well. Like
Totally.
they're both working very well together.
Exactly. I agree.
And like I love that people are like acknowledging that there's 2 separate ones and like acknowledging that there are 2 different hosts on each one, but like cool because it's all under the same umbrella, all under the same team. One day all 3 of us will record. We're working that
Totally.
we will make that work on either one of the shows. Because it's funny because like I like he listens to this and he's talked to me about you and like being good on here. Of course, you've talked
Yeah,
about like wanting to record with him. So it's funny like you
totally.
guys are like
Love that.
these separate entities right now, but like
Yeah,
I think probably would really gel really well together because he much like you when it comes to like talking about this stuff. He's just a fan of like a lot of these things. So yeah, I'm like really looking forward to like show it's become and like doing now with it. And yeah,
too, and chatting movies with him too will be fantastic. And I really like the
yeah.
spinoff as well. Always look forward to that. And yeah, I got to say too, I was stumped on last week's deep dive. I did not get it. I had no idea. So
No, no, no one got it to like whole scrambled picture, and then like, and what's funny
Oh
that
yeah.
so many people picked Napoleon Dynamite. I guess
Oh,
it was distributed by MTV Films a year after Better Luck Tomorrow. So I guess, and it was a hit
okay.
and it was a hit at Sundance. So I guess that was misleading.
Fair.
But
Hmm.
someone actually got it on the picture scramble. Yeah, that was
Right.
that. It's I appreciate the enthusiasm for people guessing, but it's kind of funny when they're like way off. Where it's like,
Yeah. No. Absolutely, it would be.
definitely not that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess
We
that's
got it
it.
all out today.
I think we got
That's
it
it,
all out today. Yeah. So you're the
guys.
outro king now. So
Sounds good. Well, guys, thank you so much for tuning in and listening to us later on about the Super Bowl trailers this week. We appreciate your support. Love getting your reviews online too, wherever you can leave those. We love to hear what you guys want to hear from us. So don't be afraid to let us know what you guys think. As always, check us out wherever you get your podcasts, whether that be Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, or Good Pods, wherever you can get your listening or your watches in. sure to tune into us next week, and always stay tuned for the deep dives with Owen and Gaius. It's been a pleasure, as always, chatting films with you, Gaius, and looking forward to next week as usual.
Yep. This was a great one. Peace, guys.